My lord, Michael listened to his official's advice with a frown. With a dark expression, he said, Bennett's case is undergoing investigation. You all don't get to decide if those properties are legal or not. An elderly official stood up with alert eyes, and said to Michael, My lord, our Chaos City has always been ruled by laws. Judicial fairness is our foundation. If we can't even guarantee this, I'm afraid we will disappoint our residents. I have never doubted using laws to rule the city, and will never touch its bottom line, Michael said to that official with a solemn expression before he swept his gaze across all the officials present. Using a harsher tone, he continued, However, if anyone is trying to attribute the properties to the wrong person and confuse the situation, I will never condone it. Bennett's affair is only the beginning of our Chaos City's efforts in overhauling the underworld. Don't expect that there will be any flukes. A few of the officials avoided Michael's gaze in a panic. We should have done this a long time ago. The elderly official who stood up earlier nodded his head with consolation. The meeting is dismissed. Michael got up and walked to the door. My lord, the marquises had already torn off the seal on the tea house, and got their people to settle in there, Dicus said as he followed after Michael. Who gave them the approval? Michael frowned. The Department of Property Rights gave them the approval note. According to the regulations, they have the permission to decide on such properties whose rights are not confirmed yet. The Marquis family submitted their request, so the process complied with regulations, Dicus answered. Ha! They even dared to give the approval note at this time. The four major families have really stretched their arms out too far. Michael smirked with a dark expression. Do we need to inform the Department of Property Rights first? There's no need to. I want to see how far they can go. Michael shook his head, and continued in a low voice, It's time to cleanse the interior of the city lord's castle too. Otherwise, they might forget whom they are serving. If the interest of the four major families looms over the laws, then Chaos City will have no place to stand. Yes. Dicus's expression became serious. After a moment of silence, he continued, Apart from that, the commercial property that the Grey Temple gave to Mamie Restaurant's Miss Rena was also snatched by the Marquis family. Something like that actually happened. Michael halted, frowning, and asked, Who gave the permission this time round? The Department of Property Rights seemed to have given them a note. Seems like there is indeed no one capable after old Marquis has died. Michael chuckled and continued walking. Do we need to send people there to mediate? Michael shook his head. Don't bother with it. Someone will be teaching them a lesson, and it will be neater than us doing it. However, the Department of Property Rights is rotten to the core. Make a trip to the Grey Temple on my behalf later. Yes. Dicus nodded as he pondered if the Grey Temple was going to interfere with this matter. They gave the property away, so it seemed right for them to interfere. Did anything fun happen in the city recently? Ian smilingly asked as he sat next to a fish pond with a fishing rod, his sight fixed on the buoy. There are quite a lot of interesting things recently. Bennett from the Marquis family has gone under. All his dirty deeds were dug out, and he most likely is never going to get out. Shear, who was sitting next to him, grabbed a handful of biscuits and tossed them into the pond. A big school of fish crowded over. Ian sighed, and lamented, that little fellow was already on the wrong path since he was young. His father was also in a hole. It's a pity that he ended up like this. He deserved it, so what's there to pity? Shear pursed her lips. This matter has gotten too far. The city lord's castle will most probably start to rectify the issues soon. You are the head of the family now, so you've got to make sure that our family members do not extend their hands where they are not supposed to. You mustn't be careless. Whoever dares to extend their hands, I will break them, Shear solemnly said. There are so many legal ways to earn money, so don't blame me for being ruthless if they want to be involved in illegal dealings. Haha. You lass, you have my style. Ian looked at Shear with satisfaction as he chuckled. If it was your father or your uncles, they would never say or do something like that. This matter concerns the survival of our family. I have a steelyard in my heart. Those methods are not for the long term, and could never make a family prosper, Sheer answered seriously. All right, all right. You go get yourself busy. All the fish are so well fed by you, so what am I going to fish now? Ian said with disdain. Then, you will fish all by yourself here. Sheer tossed all the remaining little biscuits into the pond, and left with a smile. This lass, Ian watched Sheers retreating back with resignation before tossing his straight hook into the school of fish leisurely as he muttered to himself, Geoffrey, that old fellow, is indeed not as carefree as me. In an opulent private room, smoke was whiffing around. Cyril was lying in the bosom of a blonde beauty as he was intoxicated by a magic potion. A young master in a long golden robe lying across from him smilingly asked, Young Master Cyril, what have you been doing recently? Are there any new ways to make money? Sigh. Don't talk about it. I am so pissed off by a stupid girl recently, Cyril spat out with a dark expression. He had heard that Blue Suede Fashion's business was booming, and was already the most profitable and reputable female fashion store in Chaos City. One could even say it was making loads of money every single day. And the doubtful voices in the family had begun to lean toward Gloria as she went against the flow to turn Blue Suede around, and even created a new industry. Meanwhile, his blacksmith shop's performance was simply lukewarm, and the advancement of their production capacity had begun to weaken. Given his capability, there was no way he could make them in a short time. Then, let me tell you about a good business. Have you heard about what happened to Bennett from the Marquis family recently? Everyone knows about that. Cyril pursed his lips. He didn't care too much about the business of this unsavory friend of his. Everyone indeed knows about that, but not many people know that many gamblers and Johns had nowhere to go after Bennett was arrested, and all his gambling dens and brothels were sealed. They are all very restless lately. That person snickered. If we go and open a few gambling dens and brothels now, and get some of those drugs to sell to those people, then wouldn't earning money be as easy as a piece of cake? Cyril immediately sat up with glowing eyes, and said, There's something like that. Are you for real? Chapter 1577 You came to learn how to brew rum from the master again. Nobody knew how that previously unknown little princess gained the favor of the hairless monk and Princess Irina at the same time and became one of the few people at the very top of the Norland continent's pinnacle of power. The Wind Forest naturally had the biggest reaction, and immediately released a warning to remind the Folk tribe to be aware of their relationship with the Night Elves. Otherwise, they would be deemed the Elves' enemies. Shortly after, the Og tribe also released an announcement, expressing their objection toward the alliance of the Folk tribe and the Night Elves. They even instigated the other Orc tribes to isolate the Folk tribe. The several followers of the Og tribe followed their lead, and released a similar announcement. They even tried their best to hint that Connie would be a weak leader after she inherited the Folk tribe. A storm of taking sides soon swept through the Twilight Forest. But what was unexpected was that the tribes didn't all take the Og tribe's side. On the contrary, many tribes who were sitting on the fence because Isaiah was killed in the rebellion took the Folk tribe's side. Their number was almost equal to Isaiah's era. A banquet on the long table in the palace was going on. There was a plate of steak in front of everyone. The red wine in the glass was giving out a seductive glow in the candlelight. Irina lifted her wine glass as she smiled at Connie. In the light of the present situation, the pro-war factions and the pro-peace factions in the Twilight Forest are almost equal in power now. Oster's plot has failed because of your ascension. He wouldn't have the power to gather the Orc species together in a short time now. However, what if he still wants to start a war? Connie worriedly asked as she held a glass of juice. Although the Og tribe and the tribes that follow his lead are rather powerful, it is impossible for him to fight for territory in the continent after losing the support of half of the Orc tribes. Even the goblins could give him a hard time. Mag pursed his lips. He was no longer worried about that. Although the process had completely exceeded his expectations and plans, the current situation in the Twilight Forest had already reached his initial anticipation. Connie had become the Fok tribe's new chief, and with Rex's protection, he didn't have to worry about political instability at all. Furthermore, with all the tribes in two different camps, it had already been decided that the Twilight Forest couldn't be unified. Even if Oster had the plan, he also would need to have the power to implement it. As long as no huge incidents happened, the Orcs could no longer do anything much at the peace negotiation 1 month later. Connie swirled the juice, and perplexedly asked Mag, however, why am I still drinking fruit juice after I become the chief? Juvenile chiefs are not allowed to drink. That's the rule, Mag replied to her seriously. Connie nodded after thinking about it seriously. All right. This fruit juice is actually quite nice. Big sister Connie, is being chief fun? Amy asked Connie with curiosity. Everyone turned to look at Connie too as they prepared to listen to her feelings after being chief for 2 days. Connie gave it some serious thoughts before she shrugged. I still think delivery is more fun. I simply need to send the items where they are supposed to go. It's simple and easy, and I don't need to think about too many problems, but being chief is different. They report so many things to me daily. For example, how many lambs the sheep have given birth to, whose traps are being destroyed by the neighboring tribe. Why do I have to know all this? Everyone was looking at her with pity. Listening to her, being chief didn't seem like a fun thing to do at all. Mag seriously pondered as he watched Connie. He, too, couldn't understand what was so attractive about that position that those fellows tried all their means to crawl their way up to. At least to him, power was indeed unattractive. The joy that it could bring couldn't even match up to his customers' praises or Amy's cute behavior. Boss, are you all going back tomorrow's morning? Connie asked Mag. Yes. We have already ditched the customers for 3 days. I am afraid they will tear down the restaurant if we don't return soon. Mag nodded. Actually, they were supposed to leave today, but they decided to stay 1 more day for Connie. Besides helping her manage the situation, they could also have a proper farewell. Connie was the Fok tribe's chief now. The Fok tribe had 1,000 things to do after going through this catastrophe, and the Og tribe was watching them with evil intentions, so there was no way Connie could return, and continue to be the courier with no sense of direction. I'm sorry. Because I am tasked with the burden to revive the tribe, I cannot undertake the important task of being the restaurant's courier now. I know this is a great loss to the restaurant, and could very likely paralyze the delivery business. About this, I am full of self-reproach, don't worry. The only customer who orders delivery from the restaurant is now in your tribe, so I can still withstand this loss. Mag rolled his eyes. Their delivery service would indeed end after Connie left. However, it was fine. After all, he didn't depend on the delivery for business, and could bury it on the spot now. Boo-hoo! I will miss all of you. Connie's eyes suddenly became red, and tears began to fall from them. She cried like an aggrieved child. Mia, who was sitting next to her, went closer and hugged her. She wiped her tears off, and smilingly said, "It's all right, Connie. You can always visit us when you are not so busy in the future. We can always come, and visit you during our off days in the future too. Anyway, I know how to fly now, and it would be very fast." Yes, yes. Big sister Connie, you must come back to visit us frequently. Amy nodded. After a moment of thought, she passed Ugly Duckling in her arms to her. I can let you squeeze Ugly Duckling. When I am more powerful, I can set up a super long-distance teleportation portal between your palace and the restaurant. It will be very easy for us to visit each other then. Babla crossed her arms. Really? Connie's eyes glowed, and she asked, Babla, when could that happen? Ahem. Perhaps after I reached the 9th tier. Babla cleared her throat with embarrassment. Fantastic! There are only 2 tiers left. You've got to work hard now, Connie encouraged her. Babla lifted her chin up again as she proudly said, strictly speaking, it should be just 1 tier and a little more. I feel I am about to break through now. The farewell dinner ended in a happy ambience. After putting Amy to bed, Mag snuck out and went to the stone alley alone. Ha! You came to learn how to brew rum from the master again. Irina was sitting on the threshold and swinging her legs as she smilingly asked Mag, who was about to knock on the door. Chapter 1578. This is definitely a freaking mechanical genius. Ha, men. Irina took a wine gourd out of nowhere. She twisted open the cap, and took a big gulp. A beauty drinking under the moonlight. What a beautiful scene. It was a pity that Mag really didn't know how to appreciate that now. He did indeed come to learn how to brew rum. After all, the mission that was set by the system on learning to brew rum wasn't complete yet, so he had to rush to learn how to do it by tonight. You are indeed trying to learn a new skill everywhere you go. Why did I never realize you love learning so much in the past? Irina put away the wine gourd and met Mag's eyes. Learning is a matter that we will have to persevere for our entire life so we can keep pace with the times, Mag solemnly replied. Who said that? Zhou Shuren. Who's that? El Yusuan. Who is El Yusuan? A man who said learning medicine couldn't save China. The medics are indeed rather useless. After all, not every one of them can smack people with chairs like me. Mag cocked an eyebrow as he felt these words sounded quite right too. He began to sincerely say, therefore, that is my purpose for coming here today. The maiden here is the Fok tribe's best brewer and the best rum brewer on the Norland continent. We will be going back tomorrow, so I have to learn how to brew rum from her tonight. All right. I'm not going to stop you even if you really want to try something else. That's if you have the guts. Irina leaped off the threshold, and landed in front of Mag. What do you intend to do with that fellow? Put him in a burlap sack and bring him back with us first. We could just say it's a special product when we enter the city. It should be fine, Mag said after some pondering. That will do too. I need to go out tonight, and I will be bringing some special product back. Irina nodded, and then turned to leave. What are you bringing back? Mag tried to verify with Irina's back. I've heard some fellows in the Twilight Forest love to collect elven maids, Irina answered, and then disappeared on the spot. A giant purplish golden beast quickly flew over at the periphery of the Fok tribe, and soon disappeared again. They could have so many other hobbies. Why did they have to collect maids? And elven maids some more. Mag sighed. It seemed like the Twilight Forest wouldn't be too peaceful tonight. Knock, knock. Mag went up to knock. The door opened shortly, and a fragrant breeze greeted his nose. A figure dashed out, and was about to throw herself into Mag's arms. Miss, please maintain your decorum. Mag took 2 steps back, put out his hand, and pressed on the forehead of Hannah, who was dashing over. Although Irina had left, nobody knew if she had really left. I just want to express my happiness for the mission's success. Hannah rubbed her forehead, which was red from being stabbed by Mag's finger. Let's go in and talk. Mag walked into the yard resignedly. Perhaps this maiden had been living on her own for too long, but her train of thoughts was a little problematic. Alrighty. Hannah immediately closed the door and caught up with Mag. She asked with anticipation, the mission is a success. Does the organization have any new arrangement for me? Are you here to give me a new mission and instructions? The organization wants you to remain here, and wait for further instructions, Mag replied with a stern face. Hey, Hannah looked deflated immediately after hearing that. She seemed to have all her energy sapped out from her body at that moment. I lied. Mag couldn't help chuckling. This maiden was really into it. That's so bad. Hannah clenched her fists, but soon again expectantly asked Mag, then, what plans does the organization have for me? I already can't wait to offer my body for the organization. Offer your body? Mag frowned as he felt something was rather wrong with this term. Yes. Offering my body. Hannah pulled her clothes to her sides to reveal her sexy collarbones with no hesitation. Wait a minute. Put on your clothes properly. That isn't the meaning of offering your body. Mag quickly pulled her clothes back together, and looked around him with guilt. It was fortunate that Irina had left, or else he would never be able to clear his name. It wasn't that. I remembered there was a phrase in the declaration when I joined the organization, I am willing to offer my body for the organization's cause. Hannah looked at Mag with doubt. Mag couldn't bother to explain to her further, and simply seriously said, Comrade Old Sim, the organization orders you to teach Comrade Mag how to brew rum right now. Yes. Old Sim obeys the organization's instructions. Hannah, too, replied solemnly. As she brought Mag to the brewing room, she turned around when she reached the door to carefully ask Mag, what does the organization intend to do with me after this mission is complete? Can I? I'm saying, is it possible, maybe there's any hope, that I can leave here? Mag was taken aback by Hannah, who had glistening eyes, and he asked, are you thinking of leaving the Folk tribe? A gleam flashed through Hannah's eyes, but she soon lowered her head, and softly said, I will obey the organization's instructions. If the organization needs me to stay here, then I will continue to stay here. Looking at Hannah, Mag suddenly felt sorry for her. Old Sim had been guarding this tribe for his whole life, and Hannah took over his code name, and continued to guard here after he died. They persevered for years as if it were only days, waiting for the secret code name that they might never ever hear in their entire lives. Such a life was indeed extremely boring. However, there were indeed such a group of people who persevered silently. Without the need for any more words, Mag could also guess Hannah's thoughts. After a moment of silence, he said, I haven't received any instructions from the organization yet. I will tell you the concrete outcome tomorrow. All right. A smile appeared on Hannah's face again. She pushed open the door of the brewing room, and a comforting alcohol fragrance greeted them. After the oil lamps on the wall were lit, the distillation apparatuses with pipes crisscrossing everywhere appeared in front of Mag. Although they were not glass pipes, as a dabbler designer, he knew very well what these machines were for. He simply didn't expect a brewery in an orc tribe could have such advanced mechanical equipment. The brewing technology was even closer to the level of industrialization. I retrofitted these machines whenever I was feeling bored in the past. The furnace's heat isn't strong enough, and the Folk tribe doesn't have a lot of metal, so it didn't reach the level I expected. Otherwise, it could have been done even better. Even though the rum brewed isn't as good as those that are brewed by hand, it's good enough to brew normal rum. Hannah knocked on the machine next to her, and turned to smile at Mag. The most important thing is, it saves me time and effort. I don't stay here all day to brew rum. This is definitely a freaking mechanical genius. Mag was staring at Hannah with glowing eyes. Congratulations, host. This maiden rum brewer was also a genius mechanic at the same time. Do you make these by yourself? Mag turned to confirm with Hannah again. Yes. Hannah nodded, and regretfully said, this is the first version. I have already come up with the blueprint of the third version, but I can't make certain things, so I had to put it aside. Where is the blueprint? Mag asked her with great interest. Didn't you come here to learn how to brew rum? Why are you so interested in the machines? Hannah looked at Mag with befuddlement, but her gaze was a little excited. This was the first time someone was interested in her machines, so she asked, do you really want to see them? Yes. I am very interested in such stuff. Mag nodded. Learning how to brew rum wouldn't take much time. He was much more interested in Hannah's drawings. If this wasn't the best she could do, then he could have found an excellent partner for certain plans in his future. Please wait a section. Hannah quickly strode into the innermost area of the brewing room. After searching through the table for a while, she dug out a stack of blueprints. She came over to pass them to Mag. Have a look. This is my third version's blueprint. I have simplified the entire structure, but the brewing efficiency has increased. I wanted to change some of these metal pipes into transparent crystal pipes so I don't have to worry about the corrosion of the metal to change the taste of the rum. Hannah pointed at the blueprint as she introduced it to Mag. The layout of the blueprint was a little messy, but the lines and labels were very standardized and easy to read. As a person who graduated from the mechanical design major, Mag had no problem understanding these drawings. He had visited an alcohol distillation plant during his university days, and seen his professor dissecting the structure of a distillation apparatus in class before. Therefore, he could say that Hannah's third version of the distillating machine had reached a professional factory's level. As the design objective of a master brewer, Mag even believed the rum that was made by this distillation machine would be even better than the factory-made ones. Is it too messy? Can you understand it? Hannah asked Mag embarrassedly, lowering her voice. She couldn't help it after she saw that Mag was quiet while she was explaining excitedly. No. This is one of the most perfect blueprints that I have ever seen. Mag smilingly shook his head, and kept the blueprints solemnly. Turning to Hannah, who was already a very famous master brewer at such a young age, he asked, "What is your dream?" Dream? Hannah was stunned. After pondering the question seriously, she replied, "I want to turn my drawings into real machines so I can let more people taste the rum that I made." Mag looked into Hannah's glowing eyes and smiled. "Come with me. I will bring you to Chaos City and fulfill your dream." "Really?" Hannah widened her eyes, and then hesitantly asked, "Didn't you say the organization hadn't decided what to do about me yet?" "As long as you are willing, I will make all the arrangements. You don't have to worry." Mag shook his head with a smile. Although Hannah was the Grey Temple's informant, the Fok tribe's affairs had concluded, and there wasn't a need to activate her within a short time. It would be a waste to leave such a talent back here in the mountains. Simply building these machines and opening a brewery in Chaos City could earn him, the angel investor, tons of money as long as Hannah could ensure the quality of the rum. Of course, Mag had even higher expectations for Hannah. One didn't get to meet such talent easily. "I am willing." "Of course, I am willing." Hannah nodded her head vigorously, and spun around on the spot happily. She had wanted to leave the Fok tribe for years. The people of the organization had come, and she could finally leave. "When are we leaving? Are we leaving overnight?" Hannah already couldn't wait. Mag smiled with exasperation. "What's the hurry? We are not eloping. Keep the blueprints and teach me how to brew rum first. After that, you will pack up your belongings, and we will leave in the morning." "All right." Hannah kept the drawings nimbly. She then brought Mag to a machine, and began to explain to him how to brew an exceptional bottle of rum. Rum used cane sugar as one of its raw ingredients. There was a patch of land beyond the Fok tribe that was very suitable for cultivating sugar cane, and it supplied excellent sugar cane as a raw ingredient for rum. Brewing a bottle of excellent rum wasn't any easier than the vinification of wine. After Mag learned about the brewing techniques of rum systematically under Hannah's instructions, he began to try to brew rum on his own. The brewing room looked rather dim under the oil lamp's light, and steam gushed out from the machine's opening at the top. Mag stood in front of the machine seriously as he followed Hannah's instructions stringently and operated it. Meanwhile, Mag had already chased Hannah out to pack her belongings, and prepare for their trip tomorrow. Finally, when it was almost dawn, Mag finally smiled as he lifted up a small cup of clear rum, and the smoothing aroma of it greeted him. This was rum that hadn't even fermented in the oak barrel yet, but it was already giving out a mesmerizing aroma. Ding! Congratulations, host! You have already roughly mastered the brewing techniques of rum. You have completed the mission. Ding! Congratulations for receiving mastery of the brewing techniques. You have also received 3 new alcoholic beverages brewing techniques. The host can learn to brew any 3 types of alcohol from the alcohol depository. Right then, the system sounded in Mag's head. Tokeng, Red Star Urquatu, Daughters Red 1, Jian Nanchun, Gujing Gongchu, Whiskey, Brandy, Vodka, Tequila. Mag looked at the alcohol list that popped up in his mind. It had almost covered all the alcohol types available, and it dazzled him. He had no idea which 3 he should choose. Hannah returned to the brewing room, and anxiously asked Mag, I have packed all my stuff, but, what should I do with these machines and the alcohol in my cellar? 1. This is the most famous yellow wine in China. It is usually drunk when the daughter gets married, it's a Chinese tradition. The alcohol is only a mere 13 to 14% unlike strong white liquor, so it goes extremely well with Chinese food. Chapter 1580 The Devil, or perhaps a Great Old One. Furthermore, while they were saying goodbye to Connie in the morning, she told them which tribes in the Twilight Forest were targeted last night. Some of them even sent their remaining elven mates over to the Fok tribe in a rush, and begged them to hand them over on their behalf. They estimated that the Twilight Forest would not have any orcs who would keep elven mates for a very long time. After all, those fellows who used to show off everywhere were all crying over their lost whiners at home now. This punishment's shock and awe effect was indeed far greater than killing them all. This is indeed very like Irina. Mag raised his eyebrows, and clamped his legs together instinctively. As for Hannah's distillation machines and exquisite brews stored in the cellar, Mag could only help her get rid of them on the spot. The machines were dismantled and sold for scraps, and the rum stored in the cellars was sold to the aristocrats in the city. This made Hannah's heart ache badly. However, since she was sure that she would never return, she wasn't too resistant to this solution. Father is bringing back another beautiful big sister after returning from a trip again, Amy muttered softly as she peeped at Hannah sitting at a side. Mag happened to hear that, and his mouth twitched. He smiled, and explained, Big Sister Hannah is a very formidable brewer. She will most probably work with all of us in the restaurant for some time. Hannah stood up, and shyly greeted everyone, I am Hannah. I hope all of you can guide me along. Nice to meet you, Hannah. I am Mia. They were considered acquainted after everyone introduced themselves. All the ladies are so beautiful and nice. This is fantastic. Hannah, who was initially worried that she wouldn't be able to blend in, was feeling ecstatic now. She was also full of anticipation for her new life. Have a rest first, everyone. Although the golden armored condor is fast, we will only be arriving at Chaos City at noon, just in time for lunch. Mag smiled at all of them. He was already lying in a reclining chair comfortably, and closing his eyes for a short rest. The Fok tribe's trip had concluded, and the result was satisfying. However, the existence of the black fog and the great old ones made him feel rather uneasy. Since the other party didn't intend to remain silent in ruin, then they would definitely have a battle with this world. A singular power had no way to handle such a catastrophe and opponents. They needed to have more allies, even all the powers in this world to resist those great old ones. As for how to persuade those fellows who were only thinking about fighting for territory and conquering the world, make them understand the dire situation that the Norland continent was in now, and get them to agree to make concessions and form alliances, it was a problem that caused him an extremely bad headache. Comparatively, cooking is indeed an easy and relaxing affair. Mag sighed in his heart. He thought he had gotten the God of Cookery's script, but he had just discovered that things weren't as simple as he had thought now. Big Sister Hannah, what is in your little gourd? It's the most precious aged rum base. My grandpa stored it after he brewed it 50 years ago. There are 15 barrels. When it was about noon, Chaos City appeared in their sight. Hannah was getting familiar with all the ladies after spending a whole morning with them. With Mia's enthusiastic guidance, Hannah's integration process was very smooth. She was no longer as awkward and restrained as in the morning. Is that Chaos City? What a huge city! Hannah stared at that huge square city in front with gradually widening eyes in disbelief. She had gained some knowledge on this trip. She had seen the mountains and rivers beyond the Fok tribe and many big cities and small towns. However, all those cities and towns could only be considered as a tiny village when compared to the big city in front of them. Even if one put the entire Fok tribe in there, it would only have taken up a small corner. Yes. That is Chaos City, and it's where we are going to live. Mia smiled. She wasn't any better than Hannah when she first saw this scene the very first time that she flew up into the air. How many people are living there? Hannah asked curiously. Apparently, it has over 1 million people, but it should exceed that number, Mia replied after thinking for a while. Over 1,000,000,000, Hannah covered her mouth. There were only about 50,000 people in the entire Fok tribe, and it was already considered as a big tribe in the Twilight Forest, but this city actually had over 1 million people living in it. What a scary number! The golden armored condor landed outside the city. Mag left right away after he got to the ground, and told the ladies, "You all go back first. I have to settle something first. I will return to cook lunch for you all very soon." "Let's go, Hannah. We will return to the restaurant first." Mia looped her arm around Hannah's, and everyone followed them into the city. In a secret chamber, Roland shook Mag's hands, and solemnly said, "We have already received the intel about the specific situation. Mr. Mag, you have completed your mission perfectly, and made a huge contribution to the world's peace. Regarding the Orcs, after Isaiah was killed in the rebellion, they already lost their control, and were no longer able to stop Oster from unifying the Twilight Forest, and leading the Orcs to start a war. However, Mag's trip had shattered Oster's plots and plans, and returned the Fok tribe under the pro-peace faction's control. This made the Twilight Forest controllable, and pulled the Orcs back from the edge of war successfully. My lord, you're too kind with your praises. This is the result of the efforts of everyone in the restaurant," Mag humbly said with a smile. However, he soon stopped smiling, and said to Roland with a lowered voice, "However, we have gained far more than that, but that gain is not something that can make people smile. This is..." Roland looked at the stone box that Mag took out. "This is a statue that Rex found on the location that the Urba tribe cannibalized one another after they were controlled by the devil 301 years ago." Mag passed the stone box to Rex, and reminded, "Do not stare into its eyes, as it can be dangerous." Roland's expression turned grave after hearing that. Descriptions of the devil appeared repeatedly in the secret missive. Moreover, Mag was saying that this thing was related to the devil, and related to the Urba tribe's tragic massacre in the past, hence, it had to be an extremely ominous object. Roland received the stone box with both hands, and put it on a table. He took a deep breath, and then opened the stone box in a swift move. The statue was only palm-sized, but it gave out an immensely terrifying sensation. He felt his soul tremble simply after he looked into the blood-red eyes for a brief moment, as if he was targeted by some terrifying existence. Roland quickly retrieved his gaze, shocked, and asked Mag, "This is the devil, or perhaps, a great old one," Mag replied calmly. He felt that his throat was a little dry too. I'm pretty sure Rex squatted 100 years in prison, so either he was caught after 200 years, I remembered wrong, or the author made a mistake. Chapter 1581 They're horrible. Is Boss Mag back? Harrison's horse-drawn carriage pulled over at that moment. When he saw the group opening the door, he jumped off the carriage excitedly, and asked, "Are you opening for lunch today?" "I'm sorry, sir, we just got back, so we need time to prepare the ingredients. I'm afraid we won't be able to open for lunch today." "You may come over again tonight," Yabimiya said as she shook her head with a smile. "I see." Harrison, and a few other customers who happened to walk past, appeared a little disappointed upon hearing that. "Big Sister Mia, does that mean that we can have hot pot tonight?" Vanessa asked expectantly as she walked over. Everything will be available." Mia nodded. She had confirmed with Mag on their way back just now that the restaurant would resume its normal operations tonight. "That's great." Vanessa smiled broadly. She had been around all the big restaurants in Chaos City for the past few days, and had tried some unique food, but all of them seemed to lack something. Just as Amy was about to enter the restaurant, Zixie peeked her head out from the potions shop next door, and said, "Amy, your master said that you have to go for class this afternoon." "Ah! Is my wonderful holiday over already?" Amy sighed a little sorrowfully, and nodded to Zixie as she said, "Big Sister Zixie, I'll go over after lunch." "All right," Zixie replied with a smile, and went back in. "Are Big Sister Ferris and Big Sister Rena not at home?" Amy asked as she walked around the restaurant with Ugly Duckling in her arms. "Maybe they have something on. Ferris is in charge of the night elves' food, and Rena should be busy handling matters of the new hot pot restaurant," Mia said with a smile as she walked out of the kitchen with warm water for everyone. Hannah looked around the restaurant curiously. She finally stopped in front of a wall mural. She spotted the Twilight Forest, and also the Fok tribe, which was represented by a small dot on the mural. She exclaimed, "Is this the map of the Norland continent? Is the entire continent here?" "No. These are just some places," Elizabeth said with a shake of her head. "Oh," Hannah spat her tongue out. She felt slightly embarrassed by her lack of knowledge. However, she was quickly attracted by the clock on the wall. She quickly went forward, and stared at the second hand that ticked rhythmically and that minute hand and hour hand that crawled slowly. After a while, she excitedly said, "This must be the legendary clock, right? By using a magic spell formation to set the interval in which the needles move, time could be recorded. There's actually something so sophisticated here. Big Sister Hannah, is the clock really so sophisticated?" Amy asked bewilderedly. "Of course. If you want the needles to move at a steady pace, you need parts of such high accuracy in this small clock. Even a slight difference can cause the clock to become completely inaccurate." Hannah nodded as she admired the clock as though it was a delicate piece of artwork. "Then what about my watch?" Amy lifted her hand to reveal the watch studded with purple gems on her wrist. "This," Hannah looked at Amy's watch. After confirming that the tiny needles were indeed moving, and even at the same pace as the clock on the wall, she exclaimed, "Can clocks already be made so small? How fine must the parts inside be?" She had only seen a clock once in the chief's palace. Back then, she thought that its existence depicted the highest degree of accuracy. However, to see one that could be worn on the wrist made her really shocked. She really could not imagine what kind of artisan could create this. "This was a gift from father," Amy said proudly as she retracted her hand. Could he also be a professional mechanic? Hannah thought to herself. She found machines to be things even more interesting than wine brewing. The process of designing and making wine brewing machines was also way more interesting than traditional wine brewing. Her heart would race the moment she touched the icy surface of metal, and imagine what it could turn into. If Mag was indeed a very skilled mechanic that could make such a small watch, then she might have found herself a very impressive master. Mag did not dwell in the Grey Temple for too long. After telling Roland about the Black Fog and the Great Old One, they set a date to discuss this issue with the city lord, Michael, again. As for the stone statue, Mag took it back again because this thing was a little sinister, and Mag was a little worried about leaving it with Roland. After all, Roland did not have the holy light with him all the time. After coming out of the Grey Temple, Mag boarded a horse-drawn carriage to go back to the restaurant. On the way back, when he passed by the tea house named Ben, Mag lifted the curtain to take a look and got a shock. The sealed-off tea house had actually resumed operations. "What's going on?" Mag frowned. According to Bennett's crimes, going to prison was already letting him off easy. As his central asset, this tea house should not be adjudicated so quickly. Why had it already resumed operations? The horse-drawn carriage continued moving forward, and Mag quickly saw the hot pot restaurant that was given to Rena. There were 2 orcs leaning by the door and chatting. These are the workers Rena hired? Mag thought that the 2 orcs did not look very friendly at first glance. For the few days that they had been to the Fok tribe, Rena should have already started on the renovation and opening of the restaurant. However, judging from the appearance of the shop, it did not seem that the renovation work was completed, and it did not seem like anyone was working on it, either. That baffled Mag. Mag had decided to let Rena helm the new hot pot restaurant and be a sleeping partner. Therefore, he did not ask Rena for a progress report, and would naturally be unaware of the work progress. The horse-drawn carriage arrived at Mamie Restaurant very quickly. Mamie Restaurant saw 2 young girls walking side by side in front of him, and told the coachman to pull over. He paid the coachman, and jumped off the carriage as he called, "Rena, Ferris." "Boss." Rena and Ferris turned back at the same time. When they saw Mag, they exclaimed in surprise, "You're back." "Yes, we just arrived in the afternoon. The rest should be in the shop." Mag walked over with a smile. When he saw the bandage on Rena's left hand, he asked with concern, "Rena, what happened to your hand?" "I scalded myself accidentally while cooking." "It's nothing," Rena said as she quickly hid her hand behind her and shook her head. "That's not true." "Boss, Rena's hand was cut when those horrible orcs pushed her to the ground." Ferris clenched her fists angrily. She told Mag, "They occupied Rena's restaurant, and said that it belongs to them, and didn't even allow us to go in. They're horrible." Chapter 1582. Hey, you 2 baddas. Are they from the Marquis family? Marquis frowned. "It's them all right. They said that the shop belonged to them, and even prevented us from going in." Ferris nodded her head angrily. "Isn't the property deed with you? Why did they still say that the shop belonged to them?" Mag asked Rena. "They also have proof from the city lord's castle that the shop belongs to the Marquis family. I went over to the city lord's castle with the property deed today, and they did not give me a concrete reply. They just told me to come back and wait." Rena looked at Mag, and resolutely said, "I will settle this matter by appealing. I believe in the city lord's castle and the law of Chaos City." "Me too," Mag said with a gentle smile. He looked at Rena's hand, and rather coldly said, "However, since things are still unclear on the side of the city lord's castle, and both sides have their proof, they're in the wrong for occupying the restaurant, and even injuring you. It's just a small cut. It's all right." Rena shook her head. She was already used to all those small cuts and injuries, and did not really mind it, but Mag's attitude made her feel warm and fuzzy inside. Yet, she did not wish to trouble him. This was something she was supposed to take care of. "Go in first. Princess Irina should have already arrived. Let her help you take a look at your wound. We'll talk about everything else after lunch." Mag opened the door to the restaurant, and motioned for Rena and Ferris to enter. "Is Princess back as well?" Ferris's eyes lit up. She entered the restaurant quickly, and greeted Irina. Rena followed behind, and also greeted everyone. Mag first introduced everyone to Hannah, who just arrived at the restaurant. After that, he looked at Irina, who was rubbing Ugly Duckling's chubby face, and said, "Princess Irina, please help to take a look at Rena's hand." Rena's hand. Everyone turned to look at Rena. What happened to big sister Rena? Did a bada bully you? Amy came up to Rena, and looked at her with a face full of concern. She clenched her little fist, and said, "If there is any, tell me, and I'll help you wallop them." There's a bada who made use of the opportunity when everyone was not around to take over Rena's shop. Ferris retold the story of how the Marquis family occupied the shop. These baddies! Everyone was furious when they heard the story, and their hearts went out to Rena. It's all right. Look, it's really just a very small cut. Rena had no choice but to undo the bandage on her hand and show everyone the wound on her palm. It was a wound around 2 centimeters long. Although it was not a deep cut, the area was very red and swollen at the moment. A scab had not completely formed at the moment, so the wound looked very painful. You were still making hot pot while you're injured, right? Mag asked as he looked at the swollen wound. I was just mixing the soup base. I haven't decided on the flavors yet. Rena retracted her hand embarrassedly. The wound might be small, but it's really painful since it's on your hand. Irina looked at Amy, and said, Little Amy, didn't you learn healing magic? Yeah. I learned life magic's healing techniques from Big Sister Irina, and also learned nature magic's healing techniques from Big Sister Luna. If I use both of them together, the healing effects will be doubled. Amy nodded as she went up to Rena, and said, Big Sister Rena, give me your hand. I'll treat it for you. Rena saw that everyone was looking at her. She hesitated for a while before putting her hand out. Amy pulled her wand out, and started chanting a spell with her eyes closed. Everyone watched her curiously. Life magic was unique to elves, while nature magic was something only dryads could master. However, Amy had learned the healing techniques from both types of magic, and even came up with a way to combine both of them. Everyone was eager to see if the healing effects would really be doubled. As the chanting ended, Amy tapped her wand at Rena's hand, and a green glow with golden hues landed on and enveloped it. The glow vanished as quickly as it appeared, and when everyone focused back on Rena's hand, the wound had completely healed, leaving nothing behind, not even a scar. Even the old scars that Rena got from cooking in the past were all gone. This, Rena looked at her fair and tender left hand in surprise and amazement. Wow! Little Amy's healing magic is really impressive. The wound vanished instantly. There's not even a scar left behind, Mia exclaimed. Nature magic and life magic blend perfectly together, there is indeed a multiplying effect. Elizabeth was rather shocked. Amy was indeed the most talented magic caster she had ever seen. It seems like dryads and elves are somehow related. I just wonder if there's any connection between the god of life and the goddess of nature, Mag thought to himself. He knew about Amy learning healing magic, and was previously worried that she was unable to cope with it. He didn't think that not only she had mastered them, she even created a way to blend them together without anyone teaching her how. However, she could even play with a blend of flames and ice. Combining the two different healing techniques did not seem like something to be shocked about. The wound is treated, but can we just let the fellow who assaulted Rena off? Irina's lips curled upwards. I heard that the 4 major families are wealthier than a country. I wonder if it's true. I think only the Buffett family could be considered wealthier than a country. The Marquis family is just rich, but their safe would definitely not have a lack of money, Mag said with a smile. He was well aware of what Irina had on her mind. All of you go and take a rest first. I'll make lunch, and after we're done, we'll go take a look. If we're comparing the size of our fists, things would get interesting. After saying that, Mag walked into the kitchen. They could not just let this matter slide. The shop was compensation for Rena. Since the Marquis family was so shameless, he would not let them be. After lunch, everyone went out in a group to the hot pot restaurant 500 meters away. Amy carried Ugly Duckling in her arms, walking right at the front, and looking like the leader of the gang. Say, do you think the woman would be back again? Young master told us to stay out of trouble, but she keeps causing trouble. Do we still stop her? If she still doesn't know what's good for her, she can't blame us for being rough. We've already told her that we're from the Marquis family. Isn't she a fool if she still comes? The 2 orcs huddled together in front of the hot pot restaurant, whispering as they warmed their hands with their breaths. Just then, a sweet voice shouted, "Hey, you two baddies. Are you the ones who bullied big sister Rena? Upon hearing that, the two orcs turned their heads, and were stunned to see a little half-elf girl standing by the door. Who are you, kid? Go and play with the adults at home, one of the orcs said as he waved his hand impatiently. Chapter 1583 I'm here again. And the woman who'd caused trouble a couple of days ago was within the group too. What do you want? The two orcs were flustered. However, when they took a closer look at Mag, a skinny and weak-looking human, they were a little more confident because Mag didn't seem to look like a skilled fighter. They held their heads up, and said, "This is the Marquis family's property. Don't think that you can go in just because you win in numbers. Listen to yourself. This is Rena's shop. Didn't you guys occupy the place a few days ago just because you won in numbers?" Mag mocked. Nonsense. Who said that this is her shop? We have the property rights issued by the Department of Property Rights. This shop belongs entirely to the Marquis family, that orc said righteously. He pulled out a parchment paper with the stamp of the Department of Property Rights from the City Lord's castle, and shoved it in Mag's proudly with his head held high. I also have the property deed with the City Lord's castle stamp. If you think that mine is fake, you can go to the City Lord's castle to ascertain its legitimacy. Mag also pulled out Rena's property deed. Humph. In any case, we won't let you all enter, no matter what you say, the orc said coldly as he kept his paper. Mag kept the property deed as well, and said in reply, "Very well, since both of us have a certificate, then this shop will belong to the one with the tougher fist, right?" Fist. The two orcs sized Mag up, and laughed out loud at the same time. "Say, you want to compare your fist with us with that frail body of yours?" One of the orcs looked at Mag, and mocked, "Or do you want to let this little girl take your place instead?" Everyone looked at the two orcs like they were idiots who didn't know they were courting death. None of them were infuriated by the orcs. "Will he do it?" Elizabeth looked at Mag's back. She was already certain that Mag was not a simple chef who only knew how to wield a chopper at the Falk tribe. Even Kurt was stabbed by him. If he were to fight against these two orcs who were barely 6th tiers, it would be as simple as killing ants. Mag couldn't hold his laughter back as well. He looked at Amy, and said, "Since they've chosen little Amy, all right, then. In case you say that we're bullying you, we'll let little Amy go against you." The two orcs were stunned for a while. They looked at Mag, and then studied that cute little half-elf with a cat in her arms seriously. That little girl looked around 3 to 4 years old, and had big round eyes, making her look super cute. But Mag actually wanted them to fight with this little girl? "Are you human?" the two orcs said disdainfully at the same time. "Me? Really?" Amy's eyes lit up. She passed Ugly Duckling to Anna, and smiled at the two orcs as she said, "Don't worry, I'll be gentle." Mag and the rest had already moved away to give Amy space in front of the door. The commotion caused quite some onlookers to stop by. They looked at Mag with the same look of disdain. What kind of father is he to make his young child fight with orcs? Isn't he just letting the child court death? This isn't a very good idea, right? Rena was a little worried. She was not worried about Amy not being able to defeat the two orcs, but about the trouble that she might bring to Mag and the restaurant if this blew up. After all, the Marquis family was still quite influential in Chaos City. "It's all right. Even if the City Lord's castle refused to do anything about this, the Grey Temple wouldn't just sit by and watch," Mag said with a gentle and comforting smile. "What are you all doing? Even if this is a challenge, you shouldn't send a child out," one of the orcs commented angrily. "He wouldn't feel proud that he won a fight with a 3-year-old. "Exactly. You're such a big man, but you actually push your daughter out and hide behind her? Can you be any more shameless?" The other orc also looked at Mag angrily. He could not wait to fight it out with Mag first. They were guarding the door, and were representing the Marquis family, so they definitely could not bring shame to the family. Hey, your opponent is me. Master said that we have to give our opponents due respect no matter how weak they are. Just like how I am treating you too, Amy said each word clearly with an angry face. You, the orcs looked down at Amy, angry and annoyed, but with nowhere to vent. Be careful, I'm going to attack. Before they could speak further, Amy pulled out her magic caster's staff, which was over 2 meters long, and dashed toward them. Young punk! Although the orcs were rather shocked that Amy could lift such a long magic caster's staff, they still did not think much of her. One of the orcs reached out casually to grab the magic caster's staff, thinking of teaching this odd kid a lesson. Meanwhile, the other orc stood where he was, with no intention of moving. It would be such an embarrassment if it required both of them to handle a 3 or 4-year-old. Bam! The orc's hand, which was as big as a fan, did not manage to grab the magic caster's staff. Instead, the staff landed heavily on his face. The unexpected power made his face twist with pain. How can she be so horrifyingly powerful? That was the only thing the orc had in mind when he flew out. F***ck. The other orc was stunned when he saw his partner fly. He didn't even have the time to react. Hee. It's your turn. Amy looked at the other orc and smiled adorably. It looks like this fellow is no simpleton. She could actually lift up such a heavy magic caster's staff, and could even make Benson fly so far away with one smack. However, it was also because Benson underestimated his opponent, and was almost not prepared to react. Bam! Before the other orc could finish thinking, his train of thoughts was broken with one smack, and he flew in the same direction as the first orc. How is that possible? The bystanders suddenly lost it. They watched in shock as they looked at the 2 orcs who flew far away and Amy, whose height did not even reach the orc's waist. How powerful must this little girl be to be able to make 2 orcs of almost 100 kilograms fly so far away with such a casual smack? Amy looked at the 2 orcs who could not even get up. She did not appear to be too happy. Instead, she started lecturing them seriously. Master said that you had to concentrate during a battle, and you had to give it your all. You mustn't have any stray thoughts. If you can't win, you can't win. There's no point thinking so much. Darn, the 2 orcs lay flat on the ground, embarrassed and angry. At the same time, they were also overwhelmed with fear. That blow was horrifyingly powerful. They actually flew from one smack of a 3 to 4-year-old little girl. Can't accept it. Amy took 2 steps forward, and watched the 2 orcs struggle to get up. Then I'll give you another chance. She lifted her magic caster's staff, and after singing a spell, a green glow with golden hues landed on the orcs, and they miraculously healed instantly. Healed. The 2 orcs got up in disbelief, and were still a little taken aback. I'm coming at you again. A devilish whisper came near their ears. Chapter 1584 Come here. After all, these 2 big orcs were so unbelievably weak in front of this cute little girl that they actually flew with a single smack. It might even seem like it was all an act. Only the people from Mamie restaurant knew that these 2 orcs were really very pitiful. It was apparent that Amy was trying to practice her healing magic. Such detestable and durable test subjects were hard to find. Every hit was a solid one. It was not to the extent of killing them, but they would at least be in so much pain they could not move. The effects of combining life magic and nature magic were apparent. Their injuries could be cured in a very short span of time, and Amy could whack them with another blow with peace of mind. And no, surrender, the 2 orcs dragged their wails out. At that moment, they were in complete despair. How is this a kid? She's a devil. Although she was holding a magic caster's staff, she was using the staff like a bat, and her strength was horrifyingly huge. Isn't this the little boss of Mamie restaurant? She is the disciple of both the Lord of Ice and the Lord of Fire. These two fellows actually dared to trifle with her, some onlookers exclaimed as they recognized Amy. So this is the disciple of the two legendary great magic casters. Everyone started to pity the two orcs. When the two orcs heard that, they died a little inside. How did they just end up in her hands? This was the child that you should never trifle with in Chaos City. Well, do you accept your defeat now? Mag asked the two orcs with a smile as they flew once again. Yes. Yes. The two orcs nodded vigorously. They could not be bothered about the excruciating pain that they felt in their bodies right now, for they feared the ray of healing magic even more. So quickly? Master said that one should have a backbone. You cannot admit defeat so readily after being hit. Amy looked at the two orcs disdainfully while hugging her magic caster's staff. Then, she suggested, why don't we go for another round? No, no, no. No more. The two orcs waved their hands in fear as they endured the excruciating pain and clambered up. What a joke! Even though they would be healed, the pain they felt every time they got hit was real. No matter how hard your bones were, they would not be able to stand all the beatings. Stop! What are you doing? Just then, a horse-drawn carriage with the Marquis family flag pulled over in front of the shop. A young man with a stern face alighted and walked over. He took one look at the two sorry-looking orcs, and then at Mag as he squinted a little. Young master. These people wanted to barge into the shop and even walloped us up. Please be the judge for us. The two orcs looked at Jonah as though he was their saving grace. All the grievance that they'd swallowed surged up and poured out as tears. The 7 to 8 orcs who came with the horse-drawn carriage surrounded Mag and the others upon hearing that, giving them a death stare while getting ready to receive orders. Jonah looked at Mag, and emotionlessly said, "You're boss Mag of Mamie Restaurant, right? I hope you can give me an explanation as to why you injured the Marquis family's guards for no reason. Why did you barge into our family's property? For no reason." Mag scoffed. He turned to the side to reveal Rena, who was standing behind him, and coldly said, "Then let me ask you this first. Why then did your two guards beat up my business partner, Miss Rena, 2 days ago? This property is under her name, and we have proof sealed with the city lord's castle's stamp. How then did it become your family's property? The Marquis family is vying with this lady here for a property. Both sides said that the shop belonged to them. So whom exactly does this shop belong to? Boss Mag said that Miss Rena has the property deed. In that case, the shop must be hers. Hasn't this always been the rule of Chaos City?" The bystanders started discussing the matter among themselves softly. They didn't know that there was such a conflict hidden behind that seemingly random tussle. "I was the one who hit them. If you can't accept it, you can give it a try too." Amy placed her magic caster's staff in front of her, and hugged it at her chest. She looked at Jonah in disdain, and said, "Come here." Jonah glanced at Amy, and raised a brow. However, he quickly suppressed his anger. He knew very clearly who this little girl was. If he were to enrage those two old men, the entire Marquis family would be in trouble. He turned to look back at Mag. This was not his first time seeing Mag. He had seen him at the Chamber of Commerce's year-end celebration, but this was indeed the first time he had such a direct interaction with him. He still had not received detailed information as to why the property was with that Miss Rena, and the Department of Property Rights only told him that it was approved by the city lord. The property was transferred under Rena's name in the form of a gift, and the Grey Temple might have something to do with this. However, all information about Bennett had been sealed off in the Grey Temple, so there was not much information he could get. What he could feel was that this time, Bennett's crimes weren't the usual kind, and it seemed like he would not get a second chance. He had always been very prudent, especially in this kind of situation where he was unable to get a clear grasp of the situation. That was why he specially made the trip over in the morning to look for his father, and suggested that they drop this shop in case they get embroiled in an unknown conflict. But Bowen did not accept his suggestion, and did not seem worried about Miss Rena, who appeared to have no power or backing. He thought that as long as they had the confirmation letter from the Department of Property Rights, they would be able to take over the shop rightfully. According to market rates, this shop's value had already exceeded 25 million copper coins. Furthermore, if they could set up a hot pot restaurant according to Bennett's plan, it might even reap higher returns for the Marquis family. He wanted to drop by and have a look today, but didn't expect to run into Mag and the others, who came over to cause trouble. Moreover, they clearly came prepared. All it took was a 3-year-old to put both sides on the same level of playing field. In that case, I will represent the Marquises to apologize to Miss Rena for our servants' rudeness and the injuries that they have caused. Jonah looked at Rena and bowed deeply. Rena looked at Mag nervously. It's all right. We've already hit the back, and that's way better than an apology, Mag replied in Rena's stead with a smile. Jonah froze, and looked at Mag seriously. He had met his match. Mag looked at Jonah seemingly with a smile. The people from the 4 major families were indeed not useless fools. However, Jonah was still too inexperienced to play with Mag. Chapter 1585 Amy, am super fierce. Everyone thought about what he said. If that was the case, how that Miss Rena managed to get such a big and expensive shop was indeed dubious. You can pretend not to know, but I am going to tell you clearly right now. Mag looked at Jonah, and coldly said, Bennett was arrested and detained by the Grey Temple because he was involved in several murders, making and selling of drugs, kidnapping, and other heinous crimes. And all his assets were gained illegally to buy those shops and properties. In addition, he used various extreme measures to run and monopolize businesses in Chaos City. These seemingly decent assets, shops, and tea houses were purchased after money laundering. I suppose the Marquis family should know very clearly where the money comes from, right? Do you think you can fool everyone just by claiming that it belongs to the Marquis family? Do you think the Marquis family rules the world, or do you think that everyone in the Grey Temple is a fool? Jonah's face turned pale. He took 2 steps back subconsciously, and there was an inconcealable shock and agitation in his eyes. How did Mag find out about all this? In order to regain all these assets and properties, the Marquis family had used up a lot of energy and resources to publicize their right of ownership, and even cut Bennett out completely. Jonah did not expect Mag to reveal all of these matters publicly. As expected, the bystanders erupted into a chaotic chatter all of a sudden. All they heard was that the owner of Ben Tea House had been arrested, but no one knew that it had been because of such heinous crimes. As the second young master of the Marquis family, Bennett was rather well known. Now that everyone knew that the Marquis family wanted to regain the properties that Bennett got through illegal means, and even labeled them as their family's properties, the Marquis family's reputation was already gone. Me? Did I say anything wrong? I reckon the Grey Temple will publicly announce the results of this matter soon. If the Marquis family really has what it takes to bring the news down, then you can say that I was just spouting nonsense. Of course, I know you don't have what it takes to do so. Mag smiled, looked at the flustered Jonah, and continued, you must be curious to know how the property deed for this shop ended up in Rena's hands. If you can't even find out the answer to that, I suppose the Marquis family isn't influential enough to be considered one of the 4 major families. Jonah's face flushed red. This fellow's words were so infuriating he just wanted to stuff his blabbering mouth shut. Don't be too nervous. A young rascal like you definitely won't be able to call the shots for something like this, Mag said with a consoling smile. Of course, if you really want to know why Rena owns this shop, you can go to the Grey Temple and ask. There's no need for you to stand here and act all hypocritical. I've already put it out here today. This shop belongs to Rena. If anyone tries to seize it and harm her again, don't blame me for being too rough. Humph. Amy, am super fierce. Amy completed Mag's sentence. She clutched her magic caster's staff and waved her fist as she glared at them with her round blue eyes. Pfft! How cute! Oh my god, this threat is totally not threatening at all. The onlookers could not resist as they melted for Amy's cuteness. Jonah frowned. He had to say something in such a situation. Otherwise, he might bring trouble to the family. Little Amy, don't you have classes in the afternoon? Just then, a hoarse voice came from outside the circle of crowd. Everyone stepped aside to make a pathway for an old man in a semi-old magician robe and graying hair. This is Lord of Ice, Urian. The adorable threat suddenly becomes very threatening. Everyone talked hushedly as they watched Urian with awe and respect. Jonah's face changed immediately. He quickly told Mag, I will report this matter to my father. I believe the city lord's castle will make a fair judgment. Before that, no one from the Marquis family will appear here ever again. Jonah bowed respectfully to Urian after that, and left immediately. That's it. Let's have another round, Amy called out to him passionately. His pace hastened immediately, and he boarded the horse-drawn carriage quickly to leave, almost to the point of jogging. Really, not a single one of them could fight. Amy shook her head with disappointment. She turned back to look at Urian, and quickly switched back to her cute smile as she kept her magic caster's staff, and said, Master, what are you doing here? I'm here to bring you to class, Urian replied. All right. I've already beaten the baddies anyway. Then I will go attend class now. Amy nodded and waved her little hand at Mag. Father, I'm going to class. Go on, and be good, Mag replied with a smile. Hum. Amy nodded hard, and followed Urian to the magic potion shop. The onlookers had dispersed, but the news about why Bennett had been arrested would definitely become one of the topics for gossip. Urian's appearance had successfully scared Jonah and the rest off. Mag was not worried that the city lord's castle would side with the Marquis family. If that really happened, Michael would be too much of a failure as the city lord. He would never agree to it. Hence, there would not be anyone disrupting the progress of setting up the new hot pot restaurant anymore. They won't be here again. Let's go in and take a look. Mag opened the door and walked in first. The rest followed him in. The hot pot restaurant was lavishly renovated with gold and red as the main color scheme. The tables and chairs, which were all the color of wine, were arranged neatly. Just the hall on the first floor alone had more than 100 tables. The scale of this place was more than twice that of Mamie Restaurant. This restaurant is huge. I suppose it can hold up to 1,000 people dining in, right? Yabimiya exclaimed. There are even private rooms on the second floor. The kitchen is also on the second floor. Rena walked inwards with a smile. Let me show you around. That's it. How boring, Irina, who was standing on a roof nearby, shook her head. She glanced at the horse-drawn carriage in the distance, and her lips curled up in a crafty smile. Since you're so greedy to want everything, I'll peel off a layer of your skin. Chapter 1586 Host, if*ck your mother. That's rather good. Mag nodded slightly. There was no need to doubt the elves' aesthetic taste. Letting them neutralize this Philistine feel brought upon by the golden tone in the hot pot restaurant was the best. He continued, then, please make the arrangements to start the renovation as soon as possible. Regarding the restaurant's ownership issue, I will ask the city lord's castle and the Grey Temple to give you an explanation. All right. I will decide the final plan with them later at noon before we start the renovations. Rena nodded before hesitantly saying to Mag, there is another thing I would like to discuss with you. Please do. That is, Rena grasped her shirt, and hesitantly said, I have been testing the hot pot bases in the past few days, but when I was making the spicy hot pot, I realized that I couldn't achieve the Mala spicy effect without the Sichuan peppers. I couldn't find any spices that could replace it on the market, so I am thinking, it's indeed not easy to find a replacement for the Sichuan pepper. I can supply you with Sichuan pepper before you find a suitable replacement, Mag replied with a smile. Thank you very much. Rena was elated, but she quickly gravely said, I am willing to pay you according to its original price. Sichuan pepper was such a precious spice that it couldn't be found on the market at all, so it had to be very expensive. Rena definitely couldn't get it from Mag for free. Sure. Mag nodded. Given Rena's hot pot restaurant's size, he indeed couldn't afford to supply it for free. System, didn't you say your Sichuan pepper is a superior product that only one is selected out of every 10,000? In this case, can you sell me the remaining 9,999 discarded products at a low price? Mag smilingly said in his heart. Host, according to this system's principles, I don't care about your principles. I only want you to follow my principles. As a candidate for the god of cookery, my principle is not to waste a single grain of food or spice. Therefore, name your price, Mag interrupted the system calmly. 10 copper coins for 5. All right, 10 copper coins for 500 grams. Deal. I believe the people from the alternate world will thank you for enabling them to have scrumptious and fairly priced spicy hot pot. Mag smiled, and agreed very readily. You did the right thing, and I admire you for how you learned to be flexible. We will all earn money together, right? You don't have to thank me, Mag said with alacrity. All right then. Changing the alternate world's dietary structures and habits is also one of your missions. Recycling and reusing the spice that is meant to be discarded and destroyed is also a good method, the system murmured as it reluctantly accepted this result. If you have the need, I can supply you with 500 kilograms of Sichuan pepper first. Let's just charge 100 copper coins for every 500 grams. Mag smiled at Rena. 100 copper coins, Rena's eyes brightened as she stared at Mag with disbelief. So cheap. Did you deliberately lower the price for me? Mag smilingly shook his head. You want to make the hot pot into a food for common people, so controlling the ingredients costs becomes the most important issue. The Sichuan pepper naturally couldn't be too expensive. It's all right for me to earn less. After all, I have shares in the hot pot restaurant too. Host, *CK your mother. The system's furious roar reverberated throughout Mag's mind. Being a system, you have to be civilized. Don't be so foul-mouthed. Mag stayed in the new hot pot restaurant for a while before he brought Hannah to the factory in the north of the city. Oh my heavens! What is this giant metal beast that can breathe out steam? How can this wheel run on its own? Doesn't this loom need to be pushed by someone? This is amazing. Hannah behaved like Alice in Wonderland when she entered the factory as she began touching things everywhere with her mouth agape the entire time. Mag briefly explained to her the steam engine's principle, the concept of the whole textile factory, and how the workers' division of labor and collaboration made producing textiles more efficient. Hannah was looking at Mag with glowing eyes and unconcealed admiration on her face after they came out of the workshop. Did you really invent the steam engine? Yes. Mag nodded. You are so formidable. You are such a genius. Hannah said with amazement on her face. Standing on the shoulders of the forebears always gave people such a false impression. Mag shrugged. However, Hannah didn't think too much about the meaning of his words. Instead, she curiously pursued, are these gigantic machines really powered by steam? Why does the airy, light steam possess such immense strength? Yes. Don't underestimate the power of steam. They could perhaps have a more stable and long-lasting output than magic, and they could be obtained with a low price. Mag nodded with a smile as he was very satisfied with Hannah's two straight-to-the-point questions. Hannah was also looking at the gigantic factory with ponderment. After a moment of silence, her eyes lit up. So this is the so-called factory. In this case, can I turn the brewery into such a big factory? We can split the different brewing procedures into a few workshops, and let different workers take charge of the juicing, brewing, fermenting. And then, we will be able to greatly increase the brewing efficiency, and produce rum on a large scale. This is why I brought you here. I will invest a sum of money for you to design and build the machines for brewing rum, and build a large rum brewery factory in Chaos City. You will be in charge of controlling the quality of the rum. If you are not well versed in factory management and sales, I can find someone suitable to assist you. Mag smiled at Hannah. What do you think about it? Hannah looked at Mag with a slightly gaping mouth. After a while, she gulped. I simply came to Chaos City to build my third-generation brewing machines, and then, Hannah gave it some thought as her gaze landed on the factory building in front of her. Her eyes gradually lit up. And then build a giant brewery factory which could allow the whole world to drink the rum from our old Sims family. Very good. I am investing into this project. Mag nodded as he took out a check, signed it, and gave it to Hannah. This is 2 million copper coins, take this as the brewery's startup fund. I will be adding on another 8 million copper coins later. You and I will own 50% of the brewery each. 50% each. Hannah held that check, and hesitantly said, but I only have 300 copper coins. Wouldn't you be losing out like this? Your abilities and techniques are priceless. Mag chuckled. Chapter 1587 Miss, please let me treat you to dinner tonight. Bennett was already plunged into the abyss of no return, and the Grey Temple's attitude toward this is unclear yet, so I think we should give up on this restaurant first, and even on those properties that are grey and shady. This is to prevent the Marquis family from getting into a precarious position, Jonah said with a grave expression. Ha! He's just a chef, so why is my son panicking? Bowen waved his hands nonchalantly and chuckled. You don't have to bother with this. I've been waiting for Bennett to fall for years. If I don't take over all the properties that he accumulated in all these years, how are we going to account for all his hard work? But, Father, I know about your worries. Our Marquis family has been operating in Chaos City for dozens of years. Our relationship networks that are spread out everywhere are far more complicated than you think. How are a chef and a woman from the slums going to fight with us? However, just as you have said, this matter involves the Grey Temple, so I will be more careful. Before the official ruling is issued, I won't let them go and cause trouble, Bowen interrupted Jonah. He then waved his hand. Go get yourself busy. You are now responsible for reviving the tea house, Ben. It is worth 100 of that restaurant. Yes. Jonah nodded and strode away. Bowen sat in the room alone for a while before he walked to the door, and said, Prepare the carriage. I want to go to the Grey Temple. Boss, where are we going now? Hannah asked Mag in the carriage. She was still feeling very excited after the factory tour. Just like Mia and the ladies, Hannah also changed her address for Mag to Boss. After all, she was officially hired by Mag as Mamie Restaurant's chief brewer now. Back to the restaurant. The restaurant is starting its business officially today, so we have a lot of preparation we have to do in advance, Mag replied, and continued, to appease the customers' grievances, I've decided to release your rum at the same time with the husband and wife lung slice tonight. But my wine gourd only has the vintage base rum left, and I have sold the machines as scrap metal too, so there's no way that I can brew it again, Hannah said resignedly. It's all right. I got a portion of the rum in your cellar from Connie, and it will be enough to supply the restaurant for some time. Furthermore, we can take this as a trial run for the rum, and see the market's reaction to the rum. It can also provide some data for us to build the factory. Mag shook his head with a smile. As Connie had taken over the Fok tribe successfully, he returned the majority of the treasure that the system took. After he only kept a little of it to pay for the system's management fee, he kept 300 million to 500 million as their fees for making this trip. Hence, Mag decided to keep the few hundred barrels of Hannah's rum that he got from Connie in the extra space that the system had now. He could sell it on the shelf as soon as he came back. Oh, I see, Hannah understood, but she soon seriously said, "Rest assured, boss. I will build the third-generation distillation apparatus very soon, and then put it into production, and produce a constant supply of rum. There is no need to rush in the building. Although your third-generation brewing machine's design is rather good, we can still improve on many details. We can think about how to increase the energy and raw ingredients utilization rate and make the machine operate more efficiently. We also have to incorporate the steam engine into the brewing machine, and make the brewing process even more advanced and efficient. All these are factors that we can further consider." Mag smiled at Hannah. "We must fight for perfection for this generation machine. We will settle this matter in one go." The steam engine and the brewing machine, Hannah seriously pondered about it for a while before her eyes lit up, and she excitedly said, "Yes. If we could combine them together, the brewing efficiency would definitely become very high. We could save a lot of time just on extracting the sugar cane juice alone." Mag continued, "I will give you the steam engine's schematic and design drawings after we get back. At the same time, I will also teach you how to draw standardized blueprints to prevent any miscommunication with the builders during the building process." Hannah's blueprints were not bad, but they were too amateurish. Others might not understand what she was drawing. The more complicated the machine was, the higher the demand for precision. Hence, he had to standardize that area. "All right." Hannah nodded. She didn't have any objection to Mag's arrangements. After seeing the steam engine and textile machine today, she was full of adoration for Mag. That machine was far more complicated than the brewing machine. Mag was indeed a master mechanic. It was only 3 in the afternoon, and there were already customers loitering around the restaurant's entrance. Obviously, they were trying to find out if the restaurant would be operating tonight. Mag went into the restaurant, wrote on a little blackboard, and hung it on the door. "Operation will resume tonight. New product introduction, husband and wife lung slice and rum. There is liquor and food, and I have stories to tell. Miss, please let me treat you to dinner tonight," Harrison said lovingly to a beautiful succubus. "I will consider that after you lose half of your weight." That succubus lady smiled as she tossed her wavy brunette hair, and walked to the end of the line. "Since that is the case, then you will have to give me a miss." Harrison sighed as he patted on his round tummy. After reading the announcement on the little blackboard, he chuckled again. Although young ladies are nice, they simply cannot compare to Boss Mag. The new products are delish. He. The news of the return of Boss Mag and the restaurant's reopening became the Chaos City's foodies' happiest affair today. Of course, the release of 2 new products at once was no less. Apart from the expected husband and wife lung slice, the rum had also attracted the attention of many alcohol-loving people. Rum? Isn't that the specialty alcohol from the Fok tribe in the Twilight Forest? Did Boss Mag go to the Fok tribe, and bring the specialty back for us to try? I have heard that the Fok tribe's rum is rather famous in the Twilight Forest, and the best rum is brewed by Old Sim the master brewer. An old friend brought me a small bottle in the past. That taste, tisk, is simply fantastic. Carl the storyteller smacked his lips and chuckled. I wonder, could the rum that Boss Mag brought back compare with that bottle that I drank years ago? It must be the best in order for Boss Mag to release it as a new product, someone answered. That's not necessarily so. You guys have no idea what a proud person Master Old Sim was. I tried to purchase a bottle of rum that was brewed by him personally then, and I failed despite asking many people for help. It's impossible that Boss Mag could purchase Master Old Sim's rum to sell. Old Carl waved his hand with conviction. Because you're worth it, however, although it was just a hobby, he made it into a specialty that nobody else could mimic. With his interesting and colorful stories, and how he closely followed the latest news, he became the most loved storyteller in Aiden Square, or even in the entire Chaos City. Of course, after working so many years in the City Lord's castle, he could naturally still receive news that ordinary people couldn't even after retiring. They all became stories in his mouth. Therefore, Old Carl was a publicly recognized knowledgeable man. Many alcohol connoisseurs revealed an interested expression after hearing him heap praises on rum. Old Master Carl is right. I went to the Fok tribe for business last year, and I tried to buy Master Old Sim's rum. It was extremely difficult as it was all bought by the royal family and the nobles. Not many were sold freely on the market, a goblin trader chimed in. Then, in a lowered voice, he continued, it's even harder now. After the coup happened in the Fok tribe, the traders didn't dare to venture there anymore. The price of normal rum on the market has risen so much that it was terrifying. Fake rum is rampant now. It's not easy to get real rum now, let alone rum brewed by Master Old Sim. As long as Boss Mag could bring back rum from the Fok tribe, it would already be much better than rum that nobody knows where it came from. Old Carl, too, lamented. Besides storytelling, drinking was his second favorite hobby. He heard about a big event that had happened in the Fok tribe in the past few days when he was drinking with an old friend last night. The princess who had been in exile returned to the tribe. She killed the Kingslayer Gary, uncovered her older brother's devilish deeds, and ascended to the throne, becoming the Fok tribe's very first female chief. He hadn't encountered such a marvelous story for a long time. Only the story of Irina leading the Night Elves out of the Wind Forest and migrating to Chaos City was slightly better. He had the story, but how to tell it out excitedly was the hardest test for a storyteller. Such a wonderful story with twists and turns. It perfectly continued on with the stories that he told about the Kingslayer and the Brother Slayer. Its twists and developments were completely unexpected. He was already prepared to spend half a month, or even one whole month, to polish up this story and script. Of course, if he could have some nice alcohol now, it might even encourage an inspiration explosion in him. Therefore, he specially came to Mamie restaurant for a drink. Since it was releasing the rum, of course he would have to try it. Not only did people come to drink, Mamie restaurant resting for 4 days had made many regulars who treated it as their own dining room so miserable that they cried. Vanessa pulled Abraham into the end of the line. After standing on her tiptoes to do a head count, and being certain that they could have hot pot, she finally said with relief, "Oh, Uncle! You took so long to leave the house. If we had been any later, we would have missed the chance to eat hot pot tonight." These people really came very early, Abraham panted hard. Their horse-drawn carriage had stopped about 500 meters away, and running this short distance had almost cost him his life. Life is so short. If we miss a meal, we will miss it forever. Of course, we will have to come early, Vanessa said with a matter-of-fact expression. She looked toward the restaurant enviously. I really envy those big sisters who work in the restaurant. They don't have to line up, and get to have all 3 meals a day. That is simply so blissful. They work very hard as they have to take care of so many customers every day. Meanwhile, all you see is eat, eat, eat. Abraham chuckled. That's true too, Vanessa stuck out her tongue embarrassedly. If she was to do it, she definitely wouldn't be able to complete it. She was simply too clumsy. Habeng stood next to Haga and chuckled as he spoke in their tribal tongue. Bro, we just had Boss Mag's delicacies at the Fok tribe 2 days ago, and we are going to have them again in Chaos City now. It really is a seamless connection. Haga simply laughed, but he didn't say anything while he looked at the restaurant expectantly. Chapman stood behind Harris, and softly asked, Master, Grandmaster has returned. Are you going to continue to learn to cook from him? Of course, I am going to learn. I still haven't mastered the husband and wife lung slice yet. I will be embarrassing my master if I leave now, Harris replied matter-of-factly. But I have mastered it, Chapman said hesitantly. Harris. Master, I don't mean it that way. I'm just saying, if there's a need, I can teach you a little. Chapman swiftly waved his hands. All right now, you even want to be my master now, chap, Harris replied rather angrily. And no, Chapman was so nervous that sweat began to bead on his forehead. All right. I'm just teasing you. Harris chuckled. Tasting different kinds of food here every day is very beneficial to me, and has way exceeded the benefits of traveling. We should take a break now after being on the road for so long. We won't be able to find a restaurant like this which is able to give me endless surprises anywhere else. Chapman looked at Harris's profile and nodded thoughtfully. It was only halfway through the winter in Chaos City. Apart from some species who were not afraid of cold, the majority of the customers were wearing thick jackets. Having hot pot with friends in such cold weather was naturally a very enjoyable affair. The customers who came for hot pot were in a separate line on their own, which was as popular as the normal dinner. Although the hot pot is scrumptious, it's really expensive. After today's meal, I can kiss the hot pot goodbye for the rest of the month, a young man complained. Yes. If it can be slightly cheaper, I will be able to bring my whole family here to have it. I even need to restrain myself when I am ordering for my tiny section now, a middle-aged man lamented too. A few cheap hot pot restaurants have opened for business over there. Their prices are not even a third of Mamie restaurants, but the taste. Mamie restaurant has ruined all others for me, a young office worker lady said with a smile. I went to try them out in the past 2 days. Those hot pot restaurants have only scratched the surface. They couldn't even concoct the clear soup base well. If scalding vegetables in hot water could be considered as hot pot, then my mom could be considered a chef 20 years ago. Harrison pursed his lips with disdain written all over his face. Everyone laughed out after hearing that. If they were not particular about the taste, they wouldn't line up 1 hour early in the freezing wind. Welcome to Mamie Restaurant. Right at that moment, the restaurant's door was opened outward. Mag came out, stood at the entrance, and smilingly said, "The restaurant has begun its service. Please come in." The customers smilingly greeted Mag and filed in. "Boss Mag, did you bring your rum back from the Fok tribe?" some customer asked curiously when he walked in. "Of course. Old Sim brand's rum." "Because you're worth it," Mag replied with a smile. Chapter 1589 It's this aroma. Although the real Old Sim had already passed away, because Hannah's skills were completely on par with her grandpa, the people from the Fok tribe still called the rum made by Hannah Old Sim's rum. It could be considered as a rather famous local brand. How could that be possible? Old Carl stared at Mag with disbelief. "You will naturally know after you taste it." Mag chuckled. "All right, I want to see if this Old Sim's rum is authentic or not." Old Sim nodded before he strode into the restaurant, and sat down at the closest seat. He couldn't wait to flip open the menu on the table. In the alcohol column, there was one extra item, Old Sim's rum 1,000 copper coins per cup. This shocking price, the customer that shared a table with Old Carl said with amazement after scanning the price. If this is indeed Old Sim's rum, then this price is indeed shocking. Old Carl looked at the menu, and said in a louder voice, "Shockingly cheap." "Yes. Don't even mention Old Sim's. A bottle of normal authentic rum that is imported from the Fok tribe could sell for 500 to 600 copper coins in Chaos City. Rum from a slightly famous brewery could cost over 1,000 copper coins easily. Recently, a poor chap was scammed. He spent 5,000 copper coins to buy a bottle of Old Sim's brand rum when in fact it was made in a small workshop in Chaos City. A cup of Old Sim's rum for 1,000 copper coins is indeed shockingly cheap." A man who had a wine flask with him sat down opposite Old Carl with a smile. "You are a connoisseur." Old Carl smiled at that man, and he ordered straight away when he saw Yabimiya walk over. "I would like to have a helping of husband and wife lung slice and a cup of rum." "Sure. Yabimiya nodded. I would like to have a small spicy grilled fish with a cup of rum and a mug of beer, the man opposite of old Carl smilingly said. Sure. Please wait a moment. Yabimiya proceeded to the next table after she placed the order for this table. Karu could be considered as a regular at Mamie restaurants. As the owner of a fabric shop, he didn't have any bad hobbies apart from drinking. Chaos City didn't have any good brewers, only the fruit wines from a few breweries were drinkable. He usually asked people to bring the alcohol back for him from other places. Mamie restaurant's beer could be considered as the most surprising alcohol that he had had in Chaos City. Together with the spicy grilled fish, it was an enjoyment. However, although beer was tasty, to a person who drank frequently like him, there was always something lacking. Therefore, he would always bring a wine flask that was filled with aged wine from Rodil with him whenever he came. He would only feel satisfied after he had a few sips of it after finishing his beer. As for rum, it was also one of his favorites. One could only come across Old Sim serendipitously. In Chaos City, there was no way to purchase it even if one had the money. Even people like him who had been drinking for the past 20 to 30 years had been scammed before. It really sucked to drink fake alcohol. Moreover, the Fok tribe had a coup recently, and the price of rum had increased as a result. Even ordinary rum was hard to find. He hadn't drunk rum for 2 months, because he was afraid of buying fake rum from those black-hearted merchants. Therefore, he was surprised and seriously doubtful when he saw Mamie restaurant releasing rum, and even saying it was Old Sim's rum. How did the rum that was so hard to come by in the market become sold in glasses like beer in Boss Mag's restaurant? It was only 1,000 copper coins, so Karu wouldn't feel anything even if it was fake. Even though he was doubtful, he still ordered 1 glass. Anyway, old Carl was sitting across from him. If it was fake, then there would be another story about a black-hearted merchant who sold fake alcohol to his regular customers after he got rich. Boss, would people order my rum? Would the people in Chaos City get used to drinking it? In the kitchen, Hannah was worriedly looking at the customers out there. Although she was very confident about her brewing skills, she was afraid the rum would taste different after it came to a different place. Don't worry. Even though rum is a niche liquor in Chaos City, it has very good potential to grow and expand here, Mag answered as he tossed the fried rice. He had spent some time studying the alcohol market in Chaos City previously. The local breweries were of poor standard, and couldn't satisfy the local alcohol connoisseurs who were after high-quality alcohol. Therefore, there were merchants who would specially import alcohol to Chaos City from all over the continent, and the market for it was huge. Even though the rum had a niche market, due to the difficulty in transporting it on the uneven roads from the Twilight Forest, there wasn't a huge amount of rum that eventually got to Chaos City. Mag's objective in releasing the rum in Mamie restaurant was to establish a group of loyal followers for the brewery in the future so that they wouldn't have to worry about the sales then. There's a total of 18 glasses of rum. They are respectively, 1 glass for customer 1 and 3 of table 3, 1 glass for customer 2 of table 4, table 6. Yabimiya went into the kitchen, and began to report about the orders. Babla stood at the kitchen's entrance and closed her eyes. Round glasses which were filled with amber-colored rum began to float out, and accurately landed on the tables of all the customers that Yabimiya reported had ordered them. A maiden clapped her claps, and marveled, "Wow! That's so cool! A spatial magic caster is doing the serving. This restaurant is awesome." The customers smiled at the maiden's marvel. Of course, that was indeed very cool. However, many people were attracted by the alcohol's rich aroma when it floated past them. That was a soothing scent. Simply smelling it could mesmerize them. However, that glass wasn't big, and a tiny glass of rum actually cost 1,000 copper coins. Some customers who didn't drink felt that this price was rather steep, and couldn't help feeling sorry for those customers who had ordered it. Thud. A quiet thud sounded, and 2 glasses landed in front of old Carl and Karu. Their eyes were attracted by the amber liquid in the transparent glasses in front of them at the same time. This wine glass was smaller than the beer mug. It didn't have a handle, and could be held easily by hand. A rich alcoholic aroma washed over them. There was even a tinge of the white oak barrel's fragrance in the midst of the rich aroma, which made their eyes light up at the same time. Yes, it's this aroma. It's this aroma. The aroma of Old Sim's rum. This unique and unduplicable aroma. That has to be it. Old Carl said with surprise. He couldn't conceal the excitement on his face. Meanwhile, Carew lowered his head to take a deep sniff, and then showed a mesmerized expression. He also excitedly said, "It not only was brewed by Master Old Sim, this is rum that was even aged over 15 years. Rum of such quality, plus Old Sim's branding, a glass of it could easily cost over 5,000 copper coins. We should pass on our traditional crafts. The people who were the first to order the rum were drinkers even if they were not rum aficionados. Looking at the rum's color and smelling its aroma, they knew it was the real thing. Old Carl lifted the glass up carefully, and looked at it against the French doors. The amber-colored rum was clear, and had no sediment. Even though this glass wasn't as big as the beer mug, given that rum was a liquor with a high alcohol concentration, a small glass like this was enough for a normal person. Old Carl put the glass next to his lips and took a small sip. Its smooth and sweet texture made one mesmerized unknowingly. The rich aroma had a hint of the barrel's smell. Only an aged rum that was stored in an oak barrel could release such an exquisite taste. He had been thinking about that small bottle of rum for 18 years, and it was only aged for 3 years. They were both brewed by Master Old Sim. He thought he would never get to drink rum that was brewed by Master Old Sim ever again in his life. He didn't expect he would get to drink such authentic and finely aged rum at Mamie restaurant for only 1,000 copper coins. Old Carl only opened his eyes slowly after a long time, and lamented, "I never expected I could get to drink rum brewed by Master Old Sim again. This Boss Mag is shrewd. It's more than just shrewd. Boss Mag has really formidable means." Carew had also drunk half of his glass, and was flushed with excitement. It was a great deal whenever someone in the alcoholic aficionado circles had an unsealed bottle of Old Sim's rum that was aged over 15 years. After all, rum of that particular quality was only supplied for the Fok tribe's nobles and chief. However, he didn't expect to drink rum of that quality in a restaurant in Chaos City. Furthermore, it only cost 1,000 copper coins. If this news got out, he estimated the entire rum aficionado circle in Chaos City was going to explode with excitement. He didn't know what means Boss Mag used to procure rum of such high quality, and he was selling it at such a low price. It was so fairly priced that he worried that he might even suffer a loss. The praises could be heard without end. A glass of rum that cost 1,000 copper coins was indeed expensive, but people who ordered it all said that it was well worth it. The feedback sounds positive. Mag wasn't too surprised to hear praises and laments in the kitchen. Hannah's rum was indeed very good, and this batch was brewed by her grandpa, so there was even no need for him to worry about its quality. The super positive reviews and feedback given by the customers who had ordered the rum enticed those customers who didn't understand rum but still loved alcohol to order a glass too. Carew was taking sip after sip of it, and already finished half of the glass before the grilled fish was even served. He quickly gestured to Yabimiya when he saw her walk by. "Miss, can you please fill this wine flask with rum? I will pay as much as you can fill it." Old Carl's eyes brightened when he heard that, and began searching his body for things that could be used to hold rum. It would be fantastic to bring such a great rum back to have a sip every now and then. Many customers were tempted too. Customers who had wine flasks with them were already smiling. It would be great to show off to their friends if they could bring some of it back. "I'm sorry, dear customer. We don't allow takeaway for the restaurant's drinks and beverages." Yabimiya rejected him with a smile. "Then, can I have one additional glass, please? I can even pay more for it." Will 1,500 copper coins a glass do? Carew sincerely said. He had a bad habit of taking a sip everywhere he went. It wasn't much, but he couldn't do without it. He had come across such marvelous rum today, so wouldn't it be great to be able to have a sip of it every now and then wherever he went? I'm sorry. This is the restaurant's rule. Yabimi rejected it without any hesitation. All right. I am being greedy. Carew sighed, but he could understand the reason behind it. Such high-quality rum was selling at such a cheap price, and according to the market price, they were selling the rum way below the former. If people with ulterior motives deliberately ordered it for takeaway, they could sell it and flip the profit many times as soon as they left the restaurant. An orc at the side emotionally said, "Miss Mia, I have a friend who has been lying on the bed for 3 years, and he is going to die soon. All he wants is to have a glass of Master Old Sim's rum before he dies. Do you, dear customer, you may want to take a look at the rules at the back of the menu," Mia replied with a smile. "Hee hee. I am just cracking a joke." That orc immediately laughed, and embarrassedly scratched his head. "My father always said that our tribe was just next to the Fok tribe, and after moving to Chaos City for dozens of years, he deeply missed the rum made by Master Old Sim. I don't know about rum well enough, and have been scammed by the sellers with fake rum many times. It's fine to lose the money, but it sucked to be laughed at by my father. He can't walk very well now. I just want to bring a glass back for him to try. So many people here said it is real, so I believe it has to be. However, I know Mamie Restaurant's rules very well. I guess I will have to wait for my father to get well enough, and bring him here myself." Yabimia's lips moved slightly as she looked at that orc before she finally nodded. "All right." Then, she went on to the next customer. Hannah stood at the kitchen's entrance, looked at those people who were excited and others who went deep into their thoughts, and softly said, "I didn't expect so many people to know my grandpa and love the rum that he brewed in Chaos City, which is so far away." A tear slid down from a corner of her eye and fell to the floor, but she swiftly wiped her tears away. "Boss, I have decided. Apart from building the brewing machines, I also want to brew rum properly so I won't tarnish Old Sim's reputation," Hannah said to Mag with conviction as she turned toward him before revealing a bright smile. "That's good. We should pass on our traditional crafts." Mag nodded. So rum actually tasted so exquisite. This aroma and texture totally crush those breweries in the city. The master indeed lives up to his name. Harrison had already drunk more than half of his glass. His rotund body swayed, and he said with narrow eyes, "However, this rum seems rather strong. Why are there 2 glasses in my hand now?" Trajay propped himself against the pillar next to him, and seriously said, "Bro, we have only just begun. Why you cannot collapse so soon?" Harrison and Trajay had already realized that this liquor's prowess was different, so they decided to put the liquor aside, prop their heads up with their hands, and obediently wait for their food to be served. It was fine to get drunk for an excellent liquor, but they still hadn't tried the husband and wife lung slice yet, so it would be a pity to get drunk now. They had to try the new item. This was their unified consensus. Your husband and wife lung slice. Right then, Yabimiya came over, and placed a plate of husband and wife lung slice in between them. Wow! Such bright colors! What a spicy and enticing aroma! This is so seductive! Harrison stared at the husband and wife lung slice with wide eyes. The sliced beef and offals were placed upon one another to form a shape of a volcano in the center of the dish. A scoop of red oil was drizzled over the volcano, and it looked just like an active volcano that was about to erupt. A handful of crushed peanuts and roasted sesame seeds was scattered over it, and a tender green cilantro was placed at the mouth of the volcano as the garnish. The bright and enticing colors together with the spicy aroma made them gulp uncontrollably. I have waited days for this dish. Finally, I get to eat it. Boss Mag has really made me wait for it. George gulped before using his chopsticks to pick up a piece of beef. The thinly sliced beef was coated with a layer of red oil and garnished with roasted sesame seeds and crushed peanuts. Whiffs of the aroma of the braised meat and red oil drifted gradually. The taste buds were already tickled even before it entered the mouth. After George bit down, the rich aroma of the red oil and the spiciness blossomed on the tip of his tongue at the same time. Shortly after that, it was the rich aroma of the braised beef. The soft and smooth beef disintegrated after being bitten softly. The taste buds couldn't help quivering as they welcomed the impact of this spiciness like a tropical storm. Wow! George's fatty flesh jiggled uncontrollably as that exquisite taste hit his body like lightning. Even his skull seemed to be cracked open. He was going to the heavens. Rib. His clothes already couldn't contain his trembling fatty flesh, and began to split open. Sorry, my apologies. I really cannot control it. George tugged his clothes back, and chuckled with embarrassment. Is it really that powerful? Harrison raised his comical short eyebrows as he quickly picked up a piece of tripe. He was a huge fan of the hot pot's tripe. If he hadn't wanted to try out the new product, he would have gone for the hot pot after holding himself back for all these days. The tripe that was sliced lengthwise was light yellow after braising. It had a natural grit on its surface with a layer of red oil coated all over it, which made it look very enticing. Judging from their appearance, the tripes in the husband and wife lung slice and in the hot pot were completely different. The hot pot's tripe was thinly sliced, and had a unique crunchiness. Meanwhile, could this complicated and thick tripe be as scrumptious as those judges described? Harrison couldn't help feeling a little doubtful, but he still popped the tripe into his mouth without any hesitation. After the tripe entered the mouth, it began to cross swords with his teeth. The thick tripe indeed wasn't as tender as the hot pot's tripe. It was slightly chewier, but not too difficult to chew. It could be torn apart with a slightly harder bite, so it brought about a very amazing chewy sensation. The aromatic spicy red oil, the roasted sesame seeds, and crushed peanuts began to blossom at the tip of his tongue as if they were a marching band in red uniforms solemnly introducing the tripe with noisy music. The aroma of the marinade was so rich as if it had seeped into every inch of the tripe. Then, it simmered before exploding. The aroma of the red oil, marinade, and the tripe fought such an enjoyable battle on the tip of the tongue. It was so intense that Harrison's taste buds were too busy to handle them. They could only lament with amazement before surrendering completely. Spicy and enjoyable. It is indeed comparable to the hot pot's tripe. This tripe is indeed fantastic. This is an irresistible delicacy. Harrison already felt slightly awake from his tipsiness. He couldn't help taking a big gulp of the beer while feeling the spiciness in his mouth. Awesome alcoholic beverages together with awesome food escalated his enjoyment to the next level. This is really the best dish to go with alcohol, Harrison praised. I agree. Boss Mag gave me a new understanding of beef with a new cooking method again. George nodded in agreement. The spiciness coupled with the alcohol made sweat bead on his forehead. The term refreshing wasn't even enough to describe this sensation. As it was a new product that was highly anticipated, many customers ordered the husband and wife lung slice tonight. Vivian and Luna were sitting at a table for two in a corner. They had a spicy grilled fish and a freshly served husband and wife lung slice on their table. Vivian, do you think this dish is really made with a pair of husband and wife's lung slices? Luna peered at the big plate of red husband and wife lung slice in front of her. This scary name gave her scary thoughts. Vivian leaned slightly forward and waved her hand at Luna as she whispered, "Come here, let me tell you a little secret." "What's it?" Luna leaned forward perplexedly. "My father said that loving married couples have been disappearing mysteriously lately, and whenever their bodies are found, their lungs," Vivian revealed a scary smile on her face. "Ah," Luna was so afraid that she leaned back, and made a soft sound as she stared at the husband and wife lung slice with fear. That attracted questioning looks from the customers sitting at the tables around them. "Ha ha ha," Vivian was laughing so hard that there were tears at the corners of her eyes. She could only stop after a while. Their lungs were intact. Why, you rascal! You only know to lie to me and frighten me. Luna looked at Vivian with anger and resignation before she nodded to the customers around them to express her apologies. I didn't expect our teacher Luna would believe such stories, either. Vivian shrugged. She couldn't wait to pick up a piece of ox scalp with her chopsticks. All these are made with beef and beef offal. Although it is called husband and wife lung slice, there isn't even a piece of ox lung in there. Boss Mag is really getting more and more misleading when naming his dishes. So it's beef. Luna heaved a breath of relief upon hearing that. Yes. You see, this is a piece of ox scalp. Vivian put the ox scalp against the light, and the light shone through the gelatinous ox scalp. A layer of red oil was coating the semi-transparent ox scalp, and it looked extremely tantalizing. She couldn't help praising it. It's indeed done by Boss Mag. Even a piece of ox scalp is so artistically made. I am going to find a man as exceptional as him in the future, or else I shall remain single forever. Nah, that's not true. Luna blushed and shook her head. Grandfather has declined them for me. I don't want to think about getting married now. I don't want marriage to divert my attention, and I also cannot guarantee that the man that I marry will support what I am doing now. Oh, yes. Our teacher Luna is a very busy woman. This term is going to be over soon, and many children will get to attend school in the next term. You are going to be super busy in the coming 1-month-long school holiday, so you've got to take care of your health. Vivian stopped smiling, and looked at Luna piteously. Ever since Luna had set up the foundation, she had been working even harder. Buying the necessities for the children and supervising the building of the new school premises had taken up almost all of her time. It was rare for her to have time to come out with Vivian. She looked even skinnier than before. It's fine. The school premises are almost going to be finished soon, and the stuff that we bought or have been donated by the charity have almost all arrived. We should be able to complete everything before the beginning of the next term, Luna replied with a smile. I say a busy person like you should marry a man who can take care of you and your children, and cooks very well to keep you fed, Vivian lamented before she suddenly froze, and then looked toward the kitchen. What are you looking at? Luna waved her hand in front of her eyes. The best candidate for your husband, Vivian replied gravely. Luna looked over, following Vivian's gaze, and saw Mag, who just turned around to grill the beef kebabs. She blushed again and pouted. What nonsense are you spouting? I'm not spouting nonsense. I'm being serious. Vivian grasped Luna's hand, and continued to say in a lowered voice, let me analyze it for you. Don't you want to find a man who could support you in your career? Wasn't Boss Mag the first person who supported you when you first established the foundation? Furthermore, he continued to support your foundation this whole time. You are definitely not thinking about having children now, and that adorable and obedient little Amy has solved that problem perfectly. Don't you like her too? Furthermore, Boss Mag is a super hands-on dad. Even if you are going to have children in the future, you don't have to worry at all. You can throw the kid to him, and continue to do whatever you want to do. Of course, the most important thing is, you will get to eat the dishes that he cooks every day. You will get to eat the food served by Boss Mag personally when you wake up every morning. This is the dream of countless women in Chaos City. Then, I won't have to worry about your body again. Given his doting character toward his child, he definitely is going to dote on his wife. I only have to worry that you are going to get fat. See, after my analysis, isn't Boss Mag super suitable for you? According to your analysis, every maiden in Chaos City is lining up with hopes to marry Mr. Mag. Luna chuckled resignedly, but her face was still red. Although she was trying very hard to chase Vivian's words out of her mind, they kept hovering in her mind like a magical chant. In all these years, apart from grandfather, no man had ever supported her like Mag did. Even her father and those men who had pursued her couldn't understand what she was doing for the children. They all asked her to stop feeding that bottomless pit. However, she was simply doing whatever she could, and all those children could only depend on her. She really had to say that Mr. Mag was indeed a very special person. But, could she match up to him? She couldn't even take care of herself well, so how was she going to take up the responsibility of caring for a whole family and being a mother? Vivian nodded matter-of-factly. Of course, Boss Mag is young and promising, and has powerful genes. He can hold himself well both in the kitchen and beyond it. He is gentle-mannered, and the most important factor is that he is rather handsome. He is a typical premium, rich, and slightly mature gentleman. If he sticks in looking for a wife on his door, the line formed by the ladies who come to answer the call will most probably reach the city's gate. Is that so? Luna covered her mouth. She was slightly disappointed apart from feeling shocked. If that was the case, it most probably wouldn't be her. Don't be discouraged. You have little Amy, this trump card, in your hand. Given your and Amy's relationship and Boss Mag's indulgence for little Amy, you have a very good chance to become his wife. Vivian grabbed Luna's hands as she encouraged her. However, dealing with such a premium single man, you have to take more initiative. Otherwise, you are going to lose out to others. But, you cannot be too proactive, as it doesn't match your temperament and occupation. You have to establish your persona as a noble and virtuous teacher so you can arouse his desire to conquer. Then, you will play hard to get, wait a sec. Where did you learn all these things from? Luna asked Vivian suspiciously. She knew what happened in her good friend's life for the past 18 years very well. She had been single since her birth, but why was she able to tell her all these theories now? Hee. From the books. You can find everything in books, Vivian chuckled smugly. All right. Let's stop talking about this. Luna rolled her eyes, and then flicked a glance at the grilled fish. Your grilled fish is going to get overcooked if you don't start eating. Oh. I almost forgot about that. Vivian got a shock, and swiftly used her chopsticks to swipe in between the fish and the grilling pan to prevent the skin from getting stuck to it before she started to eat the grilled fish seriously. Luna took a few bites of the grilled fish before throwing a glance at the kitchen. Her lips turned up a little when she saw that busy figure. She swiftly retrieved her gaze, and continued to chit-chat with Vivian. As Mamie Restaurant's first cold dish, the husband and wife lung slice had received unanimous good reviews from the customers. Meanwhile, the rum had made many customers drunk. Some of them got drunk together with their companions, while others got drunk all alone by themselves. Those who came with their own coachmen were still fine. Mag had to press for an address from the murmuring mouths of those who didn't have a coachman with them before hailing horse-drawn carriages to send them back. Of course, many of them headed to places like the brothels. Irina, who was wearing a thin negligee and holding a glass of red wine, came down the stairs gracefully as she spoke to Mag, who was closing the restaurant's door, with a vague smile. Out of 10 tables of female customers, 5 tables of them were discussing how they were going to pursue you, while the other 5 tables lamented that they had gotten married way too early. You are really very popular among women. Chapter 1593 You're the most beautiful person to me. Any man would go crazy seeing such a beauty walk towards him, with that kind of perfect looks and that sweet smile. Mag was a man, but at the moment, he was unable to go crazy. Instead, he was a little flustered over what Irina said. Customers would usually come up with some unrealistic thoughts the moment they eat something delicious. Mag let out a cough, and seriously said, "Am I a man that they could lay their hands on?" Tisk Irina could not hold her laughter in. Her smile was like a beautiful flower in full bloom on that usually icy cold face, and that made Mag a little awestruck. What's wrong? Irina looked at him. It's nothing. I just thought that you look quite nice when you smile. Quite. No, very nice. How nice is very nice? Irina took a step forward, almost sticking her face to his. The faint fragrance that wafted over was as soothing as the spring of life. Mag looked at the person in front of him with a smile, and said, "Nothing in this world can describe your beauty. You're the most beautiful person to me." Irina paused and looked into Mag's eyes. Her eyes were as bright as the stars, and her gaze was passionate. Although she still had a calm expression on, her heart started to race uncontrollably. Mag looked at Irina, who was just in front of her. Her full and luscious lips were extremely enticing. A strange urge started to overwhelm him. The enchanting scent of red wine intoxicated both of them as they started to lean forward unknowingly. It was a long and passionate kiss. Rodu. The royal palace. Let's set off to bring Vanessa back. There are too many factors that lead to instability there. It's no longer safe, Andrei told Sean, who was down on one knee. Yes. Sean stood up and turned. He stopped and turned back with hesitation before saying, "Royal Father, what should I do if I run into Alex on this trip? Do you have the confidence to kill him?" Andrei asked. No, Sean shook his head. He does. I understand. Sean nodded and turned to leave quickly. The Wind Forest, Boundless Sea Realm, Twilight Forest. Alex, you're really everywhere. Andrei paced about the palace slowly and smiled. It seems like you've been living well over the past 3 years, and you've started to take a liking for meddling in other people's affairs. The blue flame at the tip of the magnificent Magus Tower continued burning brightly in the near distance. The triennial magic caster tournament is about to begin. According to tradition, Krasu will commence its opening. Will we still be inviting him this year? Of course not. He's no longer part of the Magus Tower. What are we inviting him for? Krasu was the one who suggested and created the Magic Caster Tournament. All these years, many outstanding talents from our field had been chosen from the tournament, and this tournament had also opened a path for magic casters of humble backgrounds to achieve greater things. It had also boosted the improvement in the world of magic in the Roth Empire. The tournament can do without anyone except Master Krasu. Nonsense. I think you are also thinking of betraying the Magus Tower, and that's why you keep speaking up for Krasu. One of the 10 core principles of the Magus Tower is the freedom to come and go. There hasn't been a case where leaving the tower becomes a betrayal. Anyone who upholds justice would know how much contribution Master Krasu had made for the Magus Tower. I am not speaking up for him, I am just saying something just and fair. The round table meeting in the meeting room of the Magus Tower had been ongoing for hours, but there was no conclusion because of the constant arguments. Enough. Richard, who was sitting on the main seat, said sternly. The noise in the meeting room decreased as everyone looked at Richard. I will send Krasu an invitation, and it's up to him to decide if he comes or not. Richard stood up as he walked towards the door, and said, "Today's meeting will end here." Dismissed. Great Elder, are we really inviting Krasu? Brent asked with a frown as he followed behind Richard. It has been the tradition of the Magic Caster Tournament for Krasu to commence the opening. If we didn't even send him an invitation, it would seem as though we were very stingy, Richard continued as he walked. As for whether he would turn up or not, judging from his character, I don't think he will come after finding a good disciple. Brent nodded ponderingly. Richard suddenly stopped in his tracks, and turned back to look at Brent, saying, "Right, His Majesty has ordered us to send 2 magic casters to go down south to Chaos City with the first prince. I was thinking of sending you and Elliot. You will set off early tomorrow morning. Go down south with the first prince." Brent was stunned for a while. He looked around, and lowered his voice as he said, "Does the second prince know about this?" Richard seriously replied, "This is His Majesty's orders. Whether Josh knows about it or not is not important. This is a mission to escort Princess Vanessa back, and your top priority is to ensure the safety of the first prince and the princess." Princess Vanessa is in Chaos City. Brent was a little shocked. He saw Richard's serious face, and quickly schooled his expression. He nodded seriously, and said, "All right. I will be sure to complete this mission." What a free and easy couple. One moment they're at the Wind Forest, the next at Chaos City, then the Twilight Forest. Haha, Josh sat at the pavilion in the middle of the lake. There were a few bottles of unopened wine beside him and a few smashed bottles on the ground. He looked at the lake with a sinister smile, looking a little drunk. At the corner of the pavilion, two servants huddled together, shivering in fear, afraid to look at Josh. This was a very scary sight of the second prince. A shadow guard appeared at the pavilion and went down on one knee. "Your Highness! There's a guest from the Twilight Forest. He said he brought something precious as a gift for you," he said respectfully. "An orc from the Twilight Forest?" Josh frowned. He looked at the shadow guard, and asked, "What is it?" "He would not allow me to see it, and said that he could only hand it to you," the guard said with his head lowered. Interesting," Josh smiled curiously, and waved his hand as he said, "The two of you, you're dismissed. Bring that fellow over." "Your Highness, that orc seems a little strange. Should I set things up first?" that shadow guard asked with hesitation. "This is Rodu, the second prince's mansion. Who would dare to do anything to me here?" Josh laughed complacently. He waved his hand. "Bring him in." Very quickly, a frail and old orc with leopard print on his face was brought to the pavilion. He had a black stone box in his hands. He bowed respectfully to Josh, and said in a hoarse voice, "Maurice is here to pay respects to the second prince." "What's that in your hands?" Josh asked curiously as he looked at the stone box in the orc's hands. "This is very precious, and should not be seen by a third person." Maurice did not reveal it immediately. Instead, he glanced at the shadow guard beside him. "You're dismissed." Josh waved his hand. The shadow guard hesitated for a while, but still disappeared. "Go on, what's that?" "Your Highness, have you heard of the Urba tribe's massacre that happened more than 300 years ago?" asked the orc in his hoarse voice. The top 10 powerhouses of this world, representing the 10 giant dragon tribes, were all gathered here. Is the information from the Twilight Forest reliable? Do devils really exist? The chief of the fire dragon tribe, Lorenzo, asked loudly in disbelief while spitting fire. Irina used the holy light to kill the devil-possessing Isaiah, and purified both of them, causing them to disintegrate. This was presented to everyone at the scene. Back then during the Urba tribe massacre, there were already a lot of unsolved questions. We've also found traces of evil aura on the site. That's why we didn't put Rex to death, and only locked him up in Basti prison. If what Rex said was true, I'm afraid the devils have already seeped out into this world, but we know nothing about this or them, Douglas said in an icy cold tone, making the air around cool down a lot. The giant dragons are the strongest race in this world. We are the rulers of the sky from birth. Even if the devil really exists, there's nothing to be afraid of, Eustace, the great elder of the purple crystal dragon tribe, said with a complacent laugh. Isn't it a joke to gather the top 10 giant dragons over for such a small thing? I still have a scheduled fight with Titan. If there's nothing else, I'll make a move first. Zye, the chief of the Tyranno dragon tribe, stood up and turned to leave the hall. If devils do exist in this world, I'm afraid this matter will not be as simple as we think. Just then, the chief of the giant dragon tribe, who had been silent all along, solemnly said, I chanced upon a giant wall mural in the Golden Dragon tribe's forbidden cave. It was left behind by our ancestors. I have never understood what it was trying to express for all these years, but I think I should bring all of you over to take a look. A wall mural left behind by the ancestors. The other giant dragons were all shocked when they heard that. Even Zye, who was reaching the door, stopped in his tracks. A giant dragon's long lifespan allowed them enough time to pass on stories orally to the younger generation without the need for written words or wall murals. However, Golden Dragon Island, which was where giant dragons originated from, had a wall mural left behind by their ancestors. It was something even Lewis, the dragon who had seen the most and lived the longest, was unable to comprehend. That drew quite a lot of attention from the other giant dragons. "Let's go." Lewis got up, flapped his wings, and disappeared from the hall. The other giant dragons followed along. Within a moment, the giant dragons appeared in a dark underground cave. A giant wall mural that was more than 500 meters long spread out in front of them. This was something only a giant dragon could have done. Even the best giant dragons of each tribe were shocked to see a wall mural of such scale underground. "I can't believe that a wall mural like this actually exists underground in the Golden Dragon tribe. But what's drawn on it?" Lorenzo spat out a ball of flame. It flew out and stopped, suspended in midair 100 meters in front of the mural. That was when the entire mural hidden deep underground was displayed in front of everyone. Chaos. What they could see was just chaos. This was a complete drawing. There were countless different races and also countless creepy scenes drawn on the mural. The giant dragons were killing and tearing each other apart, the forest trolls were twisting their fellows' heads off while having half an elf in their mouths, and the goblins had red eyes and were riding on orcs as they chased a group of monkeys hysterically. The boundless sea realm was stained red, with demon bodies floating around as clusters of horrifying big fishes tore them apart. There were also many other races they had not seen before, killing and murdering their own and people of other races maniacally. Right at the center of the mural was an unknown grayish-black object the size of a small mountain. The giant dragons were as small as mosquitoes in front of it, and there were several tentacles reaching out from a hexagonal seal on top that was suppressing it. Those tentacles were dotted with blood-red eyes that were gleaming with evil, as though they were about to break out from a seal. When the giant dragons saw that, their expressions changed a little. What is this?" Lorenzo, who was standing right in front of the image of the unknown thing, took a step back subconsciously. The creepy and striking image had shocked the giant dragons. If an unknown and horrifying devil does exist in this world, it will probably look like this. Lewis took a step forward, and solemnly said, "This wall mural dates back way further than what we've recorded and passed down as giant dragons. What I am talking about here is tens of millennia, but there is nothing about this wall mural from what we've passed down as giant dragons. Therefore, I even thought that this might be a creation of imagination left behind by one of our ancestors. The different races at war with each other, even killing amongst themselves, could this be an actual record of a war between races from ancient times?" Eustace asked with a frown. "No. This seemed more like how Rex described the Urba tribe killing amongst themselves after they were controlled by the devil." Douglas fixed his gaze on the mural as he solemnly said, "The war between races isn't like this. Giant dragons would not attack our own kind so ravingly. No other race would attack their own kind so rapidly, even more so for the elves. This is just a wall mural, why are all of you so nervous?" Zia pressed his lips together with a smile, and said, "Maybe it's just a wall mural drawn by one of our ancestors when he had nothing to do to scare us. No, I think Douglas is right. This wall mural should be a warning left behind by our ancestors. There was something odd happening underground 3 years ago, and that was how I discovered this hidden underground cave and just this wall mural. And in only 3 years, there have been purported appearances of the devil in the Twilight Forest. There must be a relation between these two occurrences." Lewis walked up to the front. He fixed his gaze on that unknown object with a giant octopus head, human body, and giant wings. "I'm afraid this fellow was sealed somewhere by our ancestors, and right now, he has started reaching his tentacles out to do something to our world. How is that possible? You said that this wall mural existed for tens of millennia. How can that thing be alive for so long? Even giant dragons have a lifespan of only 3,000 years, Lorenzo questioned. Take a look at the words at the corner. Louis turned to look at the corner of the mural. There was a string of words written in archaic giant dragon language. "What is eternally asleep might not be dead," Lorenzo read out loud in a shaking voice. Chapter 1595. If a little sister isn't for playing, what's the point of having her? After that, the alarm rang. Mag reached over to switch the alarm off, and glanced at the beauty sleeping peacefully in his embrace. He smiled. "Humph, I knew it. Father must have been holding Mother to sleep. You don't even hold me to sleep anymore." A soft grumble came from the bedside. Mag turned around stiffly. He looked at Amy, who was standing by the bed with her arms crossed, with an awkward smile, and said, "Little Amy, listen, last night, both of us had a drop too much, and then I'm not listening. I'm not listening. Asterisk, in any case. If there aren't 2 strawberry ice creams, I'm not appeased." Amy turned her face away proudly. "Oh, then to make up for my little princess, I'll go down to prepare a delicious breakfast set." Mag pulled his slightly numb arm out from under Irina's neck, got up, and tucked her in before fetching a clean set of chef's suit. He bent down and pinched Amy's nose with a smile as he said, "Come, give me a kiss." "One more ice cream for one kiss," Amy said proudly after stealing a glance at Mag. "Okay, I'll add that for you. But you can only have your ice cream in the afternoon and evening." Mag nodded with a smile. "Mwah," Amy put her arms around Mag's neck, and kissed his cheek as she happily chirped, "That's 3 ice creams." "All right, 3 it is. Any flavor you want." Mag smiled satisfyingly as he stroked Amy's head. He walked out, heading for the bathroom to get changed. Last night, he must have underestimated the power of rum and wine. They were both drunk. After that, probably nothing happened. Although they were lying on the same bed, they were still properly dressed. However, he didn't know how he got changed into his pajamas. "Alcohol is trouble. Alcohol is trouble," Mag lamented as he brushed his teeth. "Mother, are you awake?" Amy asked softly as she lay on the bed, watching the sleeping beauty Irina. Irina opened her eyes and looked at Amy with a smile. She asked, "How did little Amy know that I was awake?" "I saw you smiling just now," Amy replied with a smile. She took off her shoes and crawled under the blanket, naturally moving into Irina's embrace. She closed her eyes comfortably, and said, "I've chased Father away. Now, this place is mine. I'm going back to sleep." Irina put her arms around Amy and smiled lovingly as she said, "Don't you love your father more?" "Who said so? I love both of you." Amy shook her head. She reached out and stroked Irina's tummy as she expectantly said, "Are you going to give birth to a little sister for me to play?" "A little sister?" Irina froze a little. She looked at Amy with a strange expression, and asked, "Do you want a little sister?" "Mm. I love little sisters." Amy nodded. She regretfully said, "Parma's little sister, Christy, is super cute, but she's someone else's little sister, so she's not very convenient to play." "How can you say that? You should say play with Dot." Irina broke into a chuckle. "If a little sister isn't for playing, what's the point of having her?" Amy questioned. "Why does that sound so familiar?" Irina thought for a while. She seemed to recall saying something similar when she was pregnant with Amy. "We could make her up to become a beautiful little princess, bring her around to beat up baddies, teach her how to play with fire. Anyway, if I had a little sister, it would definitely be super fun." Amy looked at Irina expectantly. Irina found it a little difficult to reject the little fellow when she saw the purity and anticipation in her eyes. But that blockhead really became drunk after making her drink so much alcohol. Even if she wanted to give Amy a little sister, it was not something that she could do alone. Besides, there were currently a lot of things cropping up, enemies all over the place, and even the evil god was awaiting his chance. She would not dare to let herself be pregnant for 3 years again and go back to her vulnerable stage. You'll have to wait for a while more if you want a little sister. When my stomach becomes bigger, you'll have a little sister, Irina told Amy with a smile. When your stomach becomes bigger. Amy caressed Irina's flat stomach, and stuck her face to it as she softly said, "Little sister, you'll have to grow up quickly. I'm waiting right here for you." Gruel hey. Mother, listen, she's replying to me. Amy said with delight as her eyes lit up. That's right, the sky just turned a little bright, and there was already a long line outside Mamie restaurant. Most of the people in the line were middle-aged men. Drinking is most men's favorite activity. Some people prefer to enjoy their drinks in a high-class restaurant, while others like to have a few rounds in a little bar. When you're a little tipsy, the whole world will look so much gentler and cuter, a slightly tipsy middle-aged man started. That's enough. Madam said that if you don't go back today, don't ever think of going back, a young servant said helplessly as he supported the swaying man. Whom is that woman trying to scare? I am the master of the house. I am a man, I master, Madam is the one who calls the shots, that servant reminded him. I'll go back right now. That man flung the servant's hand away, and walked briskly towards a horse-drawn carriage. After a few steps, he stopped to turn back as he said to his companion, "Hey, taste it for me and tell me if it's really made by old Sim. Tell the boss to leave a bottle for me." "All right. Get going. Otherwise, you wouldn't even have the money to drink next time," his companion said with a smile as he watched the middle-aged man go off into the distance before saying, "If it's really made by old Sim, there must still be something left to leave some for you, 15-year-old wine. Old Sim's rum. 1,000 copper coins for a glass." This news had exploded within the small circle of Chaos City's rum lovers. Those who knew would know what that meant. Someone was doing charity with a precious work of art. A 15-year-old brew was only served to the chief and a minority of the nobles in the Fok tribe. Such alcohol was rarely circulated out of the Fok tribe, much less to Chaos City. However, this time, someone was actually selling a 15-year-old rum made by Old Sim in a restaurant. The rum was even approved by some of the famous alcohol lovers in the circle. That explained the line of middle-aged men waiting early in the morning outside the restaurant. "I heard that Mamie restaurant has a lot of rules. They only sell breakfast in the morning. I wonder if we will be able to get the rum in the morning. We've already lined up for so long. Since he's open for business, it's only right that he sells it to us." "That's right. It's a 15-year-old rum. We might not get to buy it the next time we come. We have to get at least a glass this morning." The crowd outside the restaurant started chattering. Elizabeth frowned a little. She looked at the bottles and cans in their hands, and coldly said, "They reek of alcohol. They are probably here for the rum. Looks like the rum that Hannah made has already gained some reputation." "It's true that good wine needs no bush," Mia said with a smile. Hannah was a little proud when she heard Mia's words. It seemed like there was quite a large customer base for rum in Chaos City. However, she was quickly worried as she said, "But boss doesn't sell rum in the morning, am I right?" Then "Yes, we do not sell alcohol in the morning." Mia nodded. She quickly made her way to the steps at the restaurant's door with a smile, and told the people in the line, "Hello, I am a service staff member from Mamie Restaurant. This is a gentle reminder for new customers. For Mamie Restaurant's morning operating hours, we only serve yueshao, soybean milk, yangzhou fried rice, and other food on the breakfast menu. We do not sell alcohol, spicy grilled fish, kebab, and other food from the lunch and dinner menu. Please take note. They don't sell alcohol in the morning." Those customers waiting for the restaurant to open to buy alcohol flipped when they heard the announcement. Most of them were first-timers at Mamie Restaurant. They'd heard of the restaurant, but they only knew that they had to line up, and that there were many rules and restrictions. What they did not expect was that the restaurant even changed the menu based on the time of the day. An old man came up to the front, and earnestly said to Mia, "Miss, look, most of us are first-timers, and we don't know the rules of the restaurant. We've come so early to line up in the cold for almost an hour just for the rum. Why don't you just give us some leeway, and let us have a glass? Yet, we're here early in the morning just for the rum. Now you're telling us you don't sell the rum, are you toying with us?" A big, burly man reeking of alcohol complained impatiently. "That's right. Just sell us a glass. If it wasn't for the pint of rum, who would want to line up so early in the morning?" A skinny man stomped his feet. He sniffed with his red nose, and grumbled, "Also, since you're all here, open the door quickly to let us in. This isn't how you run a business." The crowd pushed and squeezed forward as they attempted to rush into the shop. "Rules are made to follow," a cold voice echoed. The ground froze immediately, and the chilly weather got even colder as though everyone had just entered a chiller. What shocked the crowd even more was that frost had actually formed, and their feet were stuck to the ground, making it impossible for them to take even a step forward. Everyone looked at the icy beauty walk up the steps. She glared at them coldly, making all of them look away subconsciously, afraid to meet her eyes. "No matter who you are, or where you come from, if you're here, you have to go by Mamie Restaurant's rules. Otherwise, you'll be blacklisted by the restaurant, and will not be allowed to enter ever again." Elizabeth swept a glance at all the customers, and coldly said, "If anyone dares to go against the rules forcefully, you'll be deemed as the restaurant's enemy." Everyone swallowed subconsciously. Although this ice beauty was very pretty, she had a very strong and scary aura. They could guess that she had to be a very powerful ice magic caster. Some of the customers who were still hungover became wide awake immediately from the chill as they shuddered. They had all realized something. This shop was a little different from the restaurants that treated the customers as kings. Their arrogance and ego would not work here. "Wow, big sister Elizabeth is so cool." Hannah looked at Elizabeth with glowing eyes. As a completely powerless orc, she was especially envious of powerful women like Elizabeth who could single-handedly settle these troublemakers without anyone's help. Harrison rubbed his hands together, and casually reminded, "It's so cold, and we can't get our rum. What's the point of lining up? There's still half an hour to the restaurant's opening. I'd rather go home to my wife and bed." "That's right. Let's go home, it's too cold." When the crowd heard Harrison's words, they quickly picked up their bottles and cans. Suddenly, half of the people there left. The long line in front of the restaurant door shrunk by more than a half. "Bye-bye." Harrison smiled as he walked all the way to the front. He came early in the morning for the soybean milk and yushao, but didn't expect to see a large group of alcoholics. With them around, he would have to line up for Ian's. The regulars who came later for the breakfast all took up the empty spots, and the tense atmosphere soon became relaxed. There were even several customers who greeted Yabimiya and the rest. Elizabeth waved her hand, and the frost on the ground disappeared instantly. The air had also gone back to normal. Although it did not become any warmer, at least the temperature in the area stopped dropping. Yabimiya nodded with a smile to everyone. She knocked on the restaurant's door, and it opened before the staff entered. "Miss Elizabeth is really intimidating. I don't even dare to greet her even though I'm here every day to eat. An ice beauty like her can only be watched from afar. Don't even think of trying to get close to her. If she was not like this, she wouldn't be able to handle those crazy drunkards." The regulars chatted with a smile, and the atmosphere slowly grew warmer. Waking up early to line up for breakfast on a winter day like this was really one true love. "That's quite a crowd early in the morning," Mag said to Mia and the others, who just entered, as he walked out of the kitchen with a tray. "Hannah's rum is too popular." Many customers came after finding out about it, but they didn't know about the restaurant's rules, so there was a little commotion just now. However, they've already left very cooperatively, Mia said with a smile. I didn't expect so many people in Chaos City to like rum, Hannah said with surprise. That's because the local brews in Chaos City are really terrible, and the rum you make is considered the best kind of rum. This is the so-called dimensionality reduction. I reckon this situation will continue to intensify, Mag said calmly. Some of the customers who had no understanding of rum quickly fell in love with it after tasting it. After that, they introduced it to their friends, and that was how the virus spread on the drinking table. The rum quickly gained a foothold in Chaos City by outdoing the other types of alcohol available in the market and the word-of-mouth marketing. You got to hasten things up at the brewery, Mag told Hannah with a smile. Chapter 1597 Boss is indeed a pro mechanic. There are so many books. The moment Hannah stepped foot into the study, she was attracted by the different books that filled up the shelves on all three sides of the wall. She glanced around quickly, and estimated that there were at least 5,000 books on various topics. She had never seen so many books in her life. You can take a book from any of the other shelves except for this one, Mag said with a smile as he pointed to the shelf that was closest to the door. Reading was a good habit. Hannah glanced at the shelf that Mag was pointing at. Most of the books on that shelf had reddish-black leather covers, giving off some sort of dark aura. She nodded without thinking further. Come here. I'm going to teach you how to draw your designs with a certain standard so that your designs can be presented in a very clear manner on the blueprints. That way, the artisan would be able to make the products according to your requirements. Mag walked towards the study table, which was by the window. Aren't I going to make it myself? Hannah asked as she followed behind Mag. She felt that it was difficult for others to understand what she wanted to make. Our aim is to make standardized brewing apparatus. Other than the mixing, which would be done by you, the other processes would be done with machines and standard menial labor. That is a large-scale mechanized brewery. Mag pulled out a piece of paper from a rack at the side, and placed it on the table. He looked at Hannah, and said, therefore, we have to ensure the accuracy of the machines, and that would need to be done by a professional metalsmith. Oh! Hannah nodded thoughtfully. She looked at Mag worriedly again, and said, then would it be very difficult? In the past, I just drew however I wanted and wherever I wanted because I was the only one who needed to understand it. It's all right. I am a professional. Mag motioned for Hannah to sit by the table as he also took his seat. He said, let's start with the various tools that we would often use in drawing. This is a pencil, an eraser, this is a ruler. Mag started from identifying the tools, and started teaching Hannah the in-depth knowledge of the steps and ways to standardized drawing. Technical jargon like floor plan, orthographic projection, and 3D drawing swarmed into Hannah's brain. The pictures that came alive under Mag's pen and the neat labeling all felt like a whole new world to her. Boss is indeed a pro mechanic. However, Mag was speaking too quickly, and there was too much content involved. Even though she had done her best to remember everything that was taught, even taking notes of the main points, it was still unrealistic to master all of it within a short time span. She could only go back and revise on her own. About an hour later, Mag picked up the teacup at the side, and took a sip of tea to soothe his parched throat. He looked at the dumbfounded Hannah, and asked, got it? Hannah looked at Mag blankly. Was that even something that he should ask? Although she could understand everything that Mag was saying, understanding and comprehending were two different things. It's all right. As a professional teacher, I'll give you pointers for your uncertainty. Mag reached his middle finger out with a smile. After a while, Hannah, who blanked out, regained her clarity. She sat looking at Mag in disbelief as she exclaimed in surprise, Boss! I get it. No, it's just your brain that gets it. Drawing is something that requires constant practice. You shall stay in the study to practice drawing today. Redraw all of the samples I gave you just now. Mag stood up to let Hannah take his place. Then, he walked straight out of the door, and went downstairs. That's crazy. All boss did was point at my forehead, and I actually could comprehend everything he said in the morning. This is remarkable. Hannah was unable to remain calm. It just happened. She actually managed to comprehend everything that Mag had taught her within a short time span, including how to use the different tools, how to draw a professional blueprint, and even labeling the appropriate measurements. Is this boss's superpower? Hannah pondered. She felt that she had discovered boss's supernatural talent other than cooking. Calm down, calm down. I should start drawing now. Hannah took a deep breath in to force herself to calm down before picking up a piece of paper and a pen to start on the mission Mag gave her. Although this was her first time using professional tools to draw, the steps and methods were already ingrained in her brain. Her techniques might be a little raw, but that did not affect the lines and pictures she drew. Not bad. But it's still not professional enough. After 10 minutes, Hannah looked at the first blueprint she had completed. She nodded with satisfaction, and then threw it aside disdainfully. She took out a second piece of paper, and started drawing seriously again. Mag had just gotten downstairs when Dykus came looking for him with Michael's orders to look for him at the city lord's castle. Mag could guess why Michael was looking for him. He got changed and brought the creepy-looking stone statue and its box up Dykus's horse-drawn carriage to the city lord's castle. Michael stood up the moment Mag reached the secret chamber, and earnestly said, "Boss Mag, I would like to first apologize to you with regard to Miss Rena's matter. This matter will be completely solved within a few days. There was a mole in the city lord's castle, and I have to clean the whole place up properly. I'm not the one who was hurt. There's no use in apologizing to me." Mag shrugged. He was a little unhappy about what happened. "I will go over to personally apologize to Miss Rena later," Michael said with a nod. "Let's put all this aside first. We should first discuss the evil god and the devil," Roland said in a deep voice as he shut the door to the secret chamber, and activated the various spell formations to prevent being spied on. "Boss Mag, did you really see the devil on your trip to the Fok tribe?" Michael asked Mag. "I believe you have already seen the detailed report and heard the previous talk I gave. Though it might seem a little ridiculous, we have to admit that devils do exist in this world. Maybe you can say that it has existed since ancient times, but it is something powerful that survived until now. I call them the Great Old Ones," Mag said in a deep tone. "The Great Old Ones," Michael repeated word for word. His brows were tightly knitted together as he asked, "If the Great Old Ones really exist, why haven't such instances been recorded in the Norland continent's history?" Mag thought for a while, and said, "I've also been pondering this for a while. There are two possibilities: one, the Norland continent had been completely destroyed, and the current world started out again slowly after that. Therefore, there were no records on it. Two, someone has altered the Norland continent's history, and wiped out any related information that had to do with the Great Old Ones. They teach foreign languages well. If it's the former, then the Great Old Ones had caused the previous world to be completely destroyed, and there was a very long gap in the world's civilization before we developed to where we are once again," Michael said with a frown. "But can those things really live for so long? If they are powerful enough to be able to destroy the world, I don't think it's very difficult for them to find some sort of method to go through this long period," Mag continued calmly. "Moreover, the different races are just like weeds to them. They are just weeding all of us out." Michael opened his mouth, but was stumped for words. That's true. If there's a complete gap in terms of passing on the story, who could have done this? Shouldn't the ancestors of each race warn their descendants knowing that such a scary devil exists?" Roland raised his doubts. "The giant dragons believe in Dragon, the demons believe in Demon, the orcs believe in the Flurkin, and the elves believe in the god of life. Almost all the races have gods that they believe in, and this forms a strong belief system. If the strength of these gods is dependent on belief, the Great Old Ones could become stronger by controlling the different races' faith. The evil god is very adept at controlling minds and hearts, so it could easily corrode and control those who are flawed in their souls. The best way to rid the Norland continent of the Great Old Ones is not to let everyone be cautious of them, but to make them become forgotten, thereby breaking the link with them. Therefore, the various gods also wiped out all the related records and memories of the Great Old Ones after sealing them. Mag frowned slightly, and said, "All these are just my conjectures. The gods of the different races mostly exist only as legends. Although some supernatural events do occur, no one could be sure whether they happened because of the gods." Michael shook his head. He thought for a while, and said, "As for the power of belief, if gods do exist, that probably exists too. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a case where each race has a god that they believe in. For the latter possibility, at least the different races have the protection of their gods. However, if it's the former, how we should deal with the Great Old Ones, who are already getting restless, becomes one of the most difficult issues," Roland said with a frown. "No matter which it is, the most important thing to do right now is to end any possibility of races trying to overpower the others, make the entire continent wary of the appearance of the Black Fog, and find and kill the Great Old Ones, or find an even sturdier seal to put on them," Mag said seriously. Michael and Roland nodded in agreement. Just like what Mag said, those were the only things they could do now. "This is the stone statue that Rex passed me. He got this stone statue from the Erba tribe. It should be the evil god that the tribe was praying to." Mag took out the stone statue from the stone box, and placed it gently on the table. "Why would this ugly and disgusting thing become the totem of belief for the Erba tribe?" Michael glanced at the stone statue, and felt a hint of frustration rise. He quickly looked away. "That's the eerie part of it. If the tragedy of the Erba tribe spread across the entire Norland continent, that would be the world's tragedy." Mag kept the stone statue as its appearance caused the secret chamber to become eerily cold. "The Grey Temple will place the investigation of the Black Fog and the Great Old Ones on top priority. We will do our best in the investigation and surveillance," Roland said solemnly. Michael added, "The City Lord's castle will try to build connections with the various races, and communicate with them to try to curb the spread of the Black Fog. Before we have any concrete evidence, I'm afraid it would be very difficult to extinguish the spark of war between the races." "All right. I will continue to take note of this matter. If there's anything that I think of, I will approach you two immediately as well." Mag nodded. The three continued with another round of short discussion about the Black Fog and the Great Old Ones. However, as they did not have enough information, it was really difficult to come out with anything concrete. Nonetheless, they had come to a consensus to come out with convincing evidence before the peace talks so that the different races could stand together united as one to fight against their common enemy that might appear. "Boss Mag, I heard that you've kidnapped and brought the best brewer from the Fog tribe," Michael asked with a smile after they exited the secret chamber. "I didn't kidnap her. She followed me back willingly." Mag looked at Roland with a smile. "Now that you mention her, she was also a spy for the Grey Temple. However, it was really a waste of her talents to keep her at the Fog tribe forever. Therefore, I asked Sir Roland for her. Old Sim was the best spy the Grey Temple had at the Fog tribe. Boss Mag has caused the Grey Temple to incur quite a huge loss." Roland also had a smile on his face. Mag bade his farewell, and Dykus sent him back to the restaurant. "The investigation at the Department of Property Rights." Michael lowered his voice as he looked at Roland. "It's been basically completed. Based on our findings, I suppose you have to hire a lot more new people." Roland pulled out a parchment from his pocket and passed it to Michael. Michael rolled open the parchment and took a look. His face got blacker as he read, and after a very long while, he put the paper down as he furiously said, "These fellows are really greedy. They think they're some big shots just because they have a little authority in their hands. How dare they bring the Department of Property Rights to this state right under my nose? These are the ones that we could find out. As for those hidden transactions, if you need them, the Grey Temple can also dig them all out. Roland was rather calm. It's not just the Department of Property Rights. The Marquis family has put in quite a lot of money and effort all these years. They've already made the City Lord's castle into their own house. They can produce any evidence they want. Michael said with a frown. Because of Bennett, the Marquis family has contained a lot of assets legally and illegally all these years. If we need to do a total cleanup, we can cripple them anytime. Then do a proper investigation. If we don't teach Bowen a proper lesson, he might forget who he is and where he stands, Michael continued coldly. The treasury happens to be quite empty recently. Inventing the steam train took up a lot of money. All right. I'll get my men to start all investigations on the Marquis family once I get back. Roland nodded. Sir, are you satisfied with those beauties I sent to your house last night? Bowen asked. He looked at the middle-aged man who was immersed in the beauty of the two ladies sitting on his left and right in an opulent private room. They teach foreign languages one well. That middle-aged man nodded with satisfaction. At the same time, his hands moved up and down the two beautiful ladies in his embrace. Bowen's lips curled up. He looked at the man, and continued, then the verdict for those few assets and properties Bennett had, I'll write you a letter tomorrow. The middle-aged man waved his hand and looked at Bowen. He squinted, and smilingly said, as usual, 7 for you, 3 for me. 1. This is a euphemism for either sex in general or prostitution. We've done a rough gauge previously. Those properties are worth around 1 billion copper coins. Sir Dominic is really asking for a lot this time, Jonah said with a frown. Bennett's case is a little complicated. We might be implicated if we're not careful. If we can settle this without loopholes legally, these properties will naturally belong to us. Bennett smiled. He looked at Jonah, and said, this is called spending to dispel trouble. It can't be prevented. Besides, Dominic will be on the same boat with us once he takes the money. If anything happened in the future, he would also have to settle it for us. Jonah nodded thoughtfully. Sir Dominic was a high-ranking official in the City Lord's castle. Moreover, he had direct authority over property rights issues. With the letter from him, this issue would be most likely settled. Although they had to fork out an extra 300 million, it also meant that they would have secured 700 million. No wonder Father was so calm. Father, what about that hot pot restaurant? Jonah asked. Of course it will be part of the properties we are reclaiming. Dominic can get 8 million copper coins from that shop. He won't just let that slip by, Bowen said with a smile. Jonah hesitated for a while, and said, but father, that hot pot restaurant might have something to do with the Grey Temple. I think it will be better if we don't fight for the ownership of the hot pot restaurant first, and wait for Bennett's case to be closed. After we're clear about all his charges and how Miss Rena got the restaurant, we can then decide what to do. Jonah, to be the master of the house, you need to be ambitious. Bowen looked at Jonah, and seriously said, the Department of Property Rights has complete authority over property rights issues. What business does the Grey Temple have there? If you're still hesitant over something that is already in the bag, how can you lead the entire family? Yes, Jonah answered as he lowered his head. Although he still had his doubts, he did not wish to argue further. In Chaos City, the City Lord's castle was in charge of administrative issues, while the Grey Temple was in charge of crime and security. Normally, the Grey Temple would not interfere with administrative issues. However, Jonah was still worried. He could not help but think of the owner of Mamie Restaurant. He felt that things might not be settled so easily. Rodu. At the palace's royal flying steed landing ground. Sean stood in front of a giant golden eagle, and looked at the tens of people who would be following him on this trip. He loudly said, on this trip, all of you will join me to visit Chaos City as representatives of the Empire. I hope that all of you can complete the mission that His Majesty has given to us. Of these people, half of them came from the military, with 2 of them being 10th-tier powerhouses, while the other half were from the academic side, being in charge of liaising issues. In addition, there was also a team of magic casters from the Magus Tower led by Brent and Elliot. Sean was also unable to understand why his father wanted to send 2 of their great magic casters along. After all, Josh had been running the Magus Tower for years, so Sean was a little confused as to why his father wanted him to bring 2 great magic casters to Chaos City. However, it was nothing bad for him. Josh should be the one who was perplexed. Everyone answered Sean respectfully with a smile, and got on board the giant golden eagle before they set off for Chaos City. It was a tradition in the Norland continent for different races to visit other races and areas. Other than a few races that had broken all bilateral relations, the other races still visited each other as a form of sustaining their friendship. However, it was never on such a grand scale like this, with the first prince personally leading a team consisting of 2 10th-tier knights and 2 great magic casters. Everyone could roughly guess something. After all, Alex had been appearing in Chaos City frequently, and his relationship with the Empire had also been quite ambiguous. It was only right to be on the safe side in order to protect the first prince. Today, the Roth Empire representative team will visit Chaos City. The team is led by the Roth Empire's first prince, and there will also be 2 10th-tier knights and 2 great magic casters. This is the strongest team that they have sent for a visit in the recent 10 years. We have to do a good job hosting them to show them our hospitality. Chaos City's Department of Foreign Affairs had already begun working on hosting the team. They would still need to schedule the city lord's itinerary so that he would have time to meet the Roth Empire's representative team. The representative team Andre arranged is a little abnormal this time. Looks like he's still worried that Alex would do something to Sean, Michael said with a smile as he read the report Dykus sent over. Princess Vanessa and Duke Abraham are also in Chaos City. Other than their regular visit, the Roth Empire representative team is also here to fetch Princess Vanessa back. This princess is much loved by King Andre. I suppose that's also why he sent 2 great magic casters, Dykus replied with a smile. Speaking of which, Princess Vanessa is a fan of Mamie Restaurant. I wonder if Sean will be able to bring her back, Michael smiled ambiguously. Perhaps he would get addicted too, Dykus said. When Mag returned to the restaurant, he stopped by Rena's hot pot restaurant on the way. There were tens of elves renovating the place. Amidst the glittering gold, there were greens, and that made the place seem a little less lavish and a little more natural and refreshing. That made the hot pot restaurant even more suitable for customers with lower to middle spending power. Choosing an elf carpenter was a very good decision. Mag nodded with satisfaction. Boss, you're here. Rena came down from the 2nd floor, and saw Mag standing in the middle of the main hall. She quickly went up to welcome him. I just finished dealing with some matters, so I dropped by to take a look. Mag nodded, and praised, the renovation is looking good. They are all very outstanding carpenters. The outcome was above my expectations. Rena nodded. She was having quite a headache over the large areas of gold, but after the elves' transformation, the hot pot restaurant now looked way better than she had expected. Right, Boss Mag, my first version of the hot pot soup base is almost done. Can you give it a try? Rena looked at Mag expectantly. Oh? You're already done with the first version. Mag was a little surprised when he heard that. He quickly nodded with a smile, and said, of course, I am willing to give it a try. Are we going back to the restaurant to try, or are we tasting it here? I've already started using the kitchen upstairs. I'm already done making the first version of the 2 soup bases. I just need you to go up with me. Rena led Mag upstairs. Chapter 1600 If it's hot pot, it's definitely the red soup base. Although it was not as advanced as modern kitchens, it had very clear sections: the washing section, chopping section, cooking section, and more, which were completely separated. The stove that she used was also the most advanced magical stove. "This is what you call a big restaurant," Mag commented in awe when he saw the kitchen that was a few times bigger than his own. "Boss, take a seat here." Rena pushed out a little trolley. On it was a double-flavored pot with a red soup base and a clear soup base. There were also various ingredients like vegetables, tripe, and beef plated beautifully. Basically, all the ingredients served in Mamie restaurant were there. On top of that, they were very fresh, probably bought just this morning. Mag automatically sat at a table nearby. These hot pot tables were different from the induction stoves at Mamie restaurant. They were pre-made to contain magical stoves. Only the heating stones had to be changed periodically, and the temperature could also be adjusted. The heating stone was a common heating tool used in this world. It was only the size of a baby's fist, and looked like a smooth black pebble. It was activated through spell formations to give out heat. It was not expensive, and was affordable even for normal families to use. Using this method to heat up the hot pot was indeed a good idea. Mag had to admit that Bennett was good at doing business. This fellow had already successfully replicated 80% of Mamie restaurant, and all that was left was to hire someone like Rena to run the place before this hot pot restaurant could become a money-making machine. A pity he was unable to poach Rena, and that was really an idea he should not have thought of. The soup was still hot when Rena placed the double-flavored pot on the stove. Therefore, it took no time at all before the soup started boiling. Mag shifted his attention to the soup in front of him. There were quite a lot of dried chili pieces and Sichuan pepper floating in the red soup. The color of the beef fat soup was very enticing, and the fragrance of the soup base made with several spices wafted over. Initially, it was a little pungent, but as it assailed one's nose, the smell became irresistible. Mag took a good sniff and closed his eyes as he tried to differentiate the different spices Rena used. He did not know what were the spices Rena used, but she actually managed to replicate around 70 to 80% of the soup base that he made. The remaining 20 to 30% probably came from the difference in spices, but she did not simply let it be. Instead, she used other spices as a replacement to let this spicy hot pot soup become a little different from the one he made. The fragrance of the spicy hot pot is very unique. There is an obvious difference from mine, but it did not lose the style of the spicy hot pot. As for the taste, I'll have to give it a try to find out, Mag commented as he opened his eyes. His gaze landed on the clear soup at the side. The most important part about the clear soup was whether the bone soup was brewed long enough, but that was something Rena needed not be worried about. The thick and white soup base could already speak for itself. However, there were still some pieces of spring onions and a few red dried fruits floating in the soup. "What's this?" Mag picked up a dried fruit, which looked a little like a red date, with his chopsticks. "This is a fruit called kata. It is a little sour, and can bring out the freshness of the soup. We would usually add a few of them when we make stews as it could make the soup even thicker and fresher. That's why I added some to the clear soup as well. It can make the color of the plain soup a little more vibrant," Rena explained. "Which means that it has taken over the role of the tomato, and on top of that, it doesn't go soft easily. This is a very creative addition to the soup." Mag placed the kata back in the soup. Based on just the appearance, be it the red soup base or the clear soup base, this double-flavored pot had already reached the standard of making one feel like trying. It was comparable to the hot pot at Mamie restaurant. In addition, judging from the smell, what Mag was happy about was that Rena was able to come up with something new and different, successfully ensuring that this hot pot restaurant would not become a cheaper version of Mamie restaurant's designated hot pot area. Rena did not appear very happy. She placed the different ingredients on the table, and slightly nervously said, "Please give it a try." "All right. Let me try the clear soup first." Mag picked up a piece of sliced beef, and dipped it in the clear soup. The thinly cut fresh beef had beautiful marbling, and it quickly curled up in the boiling pot of soup. Before it could get overcooked, Mag took it out of the pot, and to better taste the soup base, he put the meat into his mouth without dipping it in any sauce. The sliced beef was tender and succulent. It tasted even fresher after cooking in the thick bone soup that had a hint of sourness. Mag's taste buds were already completely triggered by the freshness of the meat without the need for any condiments. The taste of the meat still lingered in his mouth after he swallowed it. This sliced beef must have been from the chuck roll of the best cattle. One could only cut out a few kilograms of top-grade chuck roll from 50-kilogram cattle. Therefore, that part of beef was very expensive. Mag was very happy with Rena's attitude towards the ingredients she served. She did not compromise on the quality of the ingredients just because of the hot pot restaurant's target audience. Besides, the kata gave him quite a surprise. The sourness was not as sharp as the sourness of vinegar. It was a very mild sourness, and did very well in bringing out the freshness of the food. It was even better than using tomatoes. After that, Mag put a few Chinese cabbages and sliced lotus roots into the pot. The Chinese cabbage turned soft very quickly. Similarly, Mag ate it without a sauce. Chinese cabbages were the freshest and sweetest in the winter. Even if it was cooked in plain water, it would still be delicious. After it was cooked in the bone soup for a while, its freshness was maximized, and it was hot and satisfying. As for the lotus root, after taking a bite, Mag chose to dip it in the sauce that he had mixed earlier. For ingredients that could not really absorb the taste of the soup base, the dipping sauce was still required to add some flavors so that its darn goodness could be brought out fully. Mag put his chopsticks down, and very seriously commented, "The clear soup base became very unique because of the kata. The effect on the food is also very good. With a dipping sauce that matches each customer's personal preference, it would be a hot pot experience that people who prefer lighter tastes would love." "Thank you." Rena finally smiled. She had been thinking about how to make the seemingly simple clear soup base uniquely flavorful on its own. She was quite worried if Mag would disapprove of her decision to use kata, but she did not expect such good feedback. "I'll try the red soup base now." Mag took off his outer jacket and undid his topmost button on his shirt. He rolled up his sleeve before mixing his own dipping sauce for the red soup base. He picked up his chopsticks, and was ready to start. If it's hot pot, it's definitely the red soup base.